Welcome to the On Point Podcast, a channel dedicated to helping you be the best hunter you can be. On Point is designed to help motivate and inspire you to get more out of yourself and your gear during your next hunt. If you're looking for information that will directly impact your success and help inspire you to go on new adventures, whether you're hunting with a bow or a rifle, On Point is the channel for you. Welcome to this week's episode of the podcast, everyone. I get to sit down with Anthony and Shelbi Maldonado, who Shelbi drew an amazing elk tag this year. Quite unexpected. She didn't have the points to actually draw it because Oregon's a preference point system. She drew this tag about a decade early. And so we all got to help her out and hunt with her and got to share some really cool experiences with this awesome elk tag. We all saw some of the biggest bulls of our lives, had some close encounters with some huge bulls, and had just a roller coaster of a ride. And so this episode is me interviewing them and Shelbi as the hunter and Anthony helping her out. And then we're all just kind of discussing this episode and how it turned out and all the twists and turns and just pretty much the roller coaster ride. It's really, truly an amazing hunt and an awesome story, and have a lot of respect for the amount of work and just the pure tenacity that they showed sticking with this hunt, and just really had a great time on this episode. So hopefully you guys enjoy it as well. As always, if you have a chance, go ahead and leave a 5-star review with a comment. Get yourself entered in some of these giveaways that we're doing. If you want to see more content on archery hunting related how-tos, tips, tricks, and gear reviews, go ahead and type in Garrett Weaver on YouTube. I'll pull right up, hit that subscribe button, and start seeing what kind of content we have. If you want to learn how to fletch your arrows, square your arrows, broadhead tuning, all that stuff, there's a few hunts on there as well, but it's really geared towards how-tos and gear reviews. You want to see what the new bows are doing, how fast they're shooting. I do all those kinds of videos on there. And then also on the Instagram, you can check us out, On Point with Garrett Weaver, and you can see all the pictures and the videos from the podcasts that we're talking about. So if you want to see what the wonky bull, which you hear us talk about, you can see that posted on the Instagram, and you can get a really good picture of what we're talking about here. It'll kind of make you feel like you're there and just really help you understand exactly what we're talking about when we talk about a wonky bull. And when you see the picture of it, you'll totally agree that is definitely a wonky bull. So that's On Point with Garrett Weaver on Instagram. And that's all the announcements that I have for today. So hopefully you guys enjoy this episode. Without any further ado, Anthony and Shelbi Maldonado on a crazy, awesome elk hunt.
That probably works. I'm probably not in it, but whatever.
Cross your legs like a lady.
Yeah.
My arm every once in a while.
Look like a girl.
Just raise your hand if you want to talk. So, all right, guys, let's get this thing on the road then. So, who am I sitting down with?
Me as always.
The star of the show.
Yeah.
We wouldn't go that far.
Still haven't started charging yet, but
I'm just going to quit calling you Team Dirty Trad because there's no team about you. It's just Dirty Trad.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a loner. Still a loner. Every time I'm on here, I'm still a loner.
You broke your own faith.
I cheated. I did. When I posted that picture, I put right in there that I cheated.
As soon as I saw that picture, I was like, hashtag Trad Life.
Well, dude, they were...
Skittish deer. They weren't the same deer that we hunted.
It was the worst skittish deer I've ever seen. Like I told you, fawns that had like spots still fading, were acting like they were 8 years old.
You hear this, folks? He's hunting spotted fawns.
Yeah. Easiest ones to kill, usually. No, but they'd see you, and they would just bolt. Even if they're 100 yards away, they'd look at you and be like, yeah, no way. So, yeah, like, I put the recurve down for a little bit.
So, Team Dirty Trad when it's convenient. And then who else do we have here?
And I'm just Shelbi. I'm no team. Just Shelbi here. Team Dirty Trad's wife.
There you go.
Or Dirty Trad's wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have you guys on the show because it was a first time for all three of us to go on a premium elk hunt in Oregon. And it was as epic as I was hoping it would be. It was freaking awesome. And I haven't really posted much about it outside of a few pictures because I wanted to keep a lot of the details kind of in the dark until we had a chance to interview And now that you guys are here, we're going to start coming out with some more posts. We're going to get the full story out. Because this story has everything. It has ups. It has the downs.
Lots of downs.
Yeah, lots of downs. Lots of face plants.
I don't know what you're talking about.
From one.
Yeah.
I fell once.
Whatever.
It was really bad, but I fell one time. And
Was I there for that one?
no, it was on day like 3 or 4. It was with Ryan. And
You fell more than once.
there were some windfalls, and there. You know how you get some windfalls, they'll cross up?
Yeah, like toothpicks.
Yeah, and then you'll have like a 4-foot drop because the one you're walking on is on 3 other ones. Well, I fell off the top one, fell backwards, and my right leg got wrapped up around like a dead branch that was on it. So it just like swung me around. It was bad.
So let's start off from where you guys actually get the tag. We're going to keep the tag a secret out of respect for people that are putting in for the unit. And out of respect for people that are maybe hunting the unit currently. Actually, tomorrow's the last day. So, but we're going to keep it a secret. I'm sure people can figure it out. You know, there's 3 big units in Oregon.
It's one of the 3.
It's one of the 3.
Yeah, we were in Ochos.
People are going to kill you. I had some friends hunting over there this year, and they arrowed a bear out of a tree, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Did you?
Yeah.
But anyways, let's start on. So you guys drew a tag.
Yes.
That some people would say you didn't earn.
Yes.
Because you drew it about a decade ahead of time.
I did, yes.
Yeah. But that's what the draw's for, right? I mean, you drew it out of the 10% pool.
Yep.
I don't even know if it's that much.
Yeah.
Or I think they put 10% of the tags, but I looked it up. She had like less than 1%, like 0.001 or something.
Yeah.
About the same odds as a bighorn sheep tag.
Right.
It's just not quite as cool.
Right.
But still pretty
I would
awesome.
put it up there because, elk are hard to beat, really hard to beat. So, so run me through it. So how'd you guys announce it to each other? Who figured out you had the tag first?
Anthony did. I was at work and I get a text that says "call me now" with like 17 exclamation points, and I run outside and call him, and he's like, "You." I'm like, "Oh shit, we can edit that out."
And you're the first one to cuss.
Just edit. Garrett can edit that out.
That's staying in there. I'll just bleep out the unit.
And I'm like, "That's really good, right?" And he said, "Yeah." I won't say the other curse word that he said, but yeah.
Well, I was shad fishing when I was refreshing the page, and I saw successful, but we had a second choice, and I thought that's what it was for. So I just scrolled past it. I went and checked all the premium tags and like antelope and stuff. And then when I scrolled past it again, I noticed the number didn't look right. And so I looked, and it was successful for our first choice. And I was like, no way. And so I refreshed it. Yep, still successful.
Really?
And I'm like, my first thought was, uh-oh, I put in for the spike tag. Because, there's just no way.
Right.
And nope, it was 100% legit. And I was just like, well, I guess plans just changed a lot. Because we were supposed to go on that mule deer trip. That's what I took my vacation, my main vacation for. And it's hard to call it a kink because, it's awesome, but it completely flipped things around on us.
Right.
Pretty much last minute.
It changed. It changed all of our plans really because I was going there to shoot a giant mule deer, and my expectations dropped, but because I was wanting to fill my tag so I could get over there before you filled yours, right?
So we could film.
Yeah, so we could film and call and hopefully pack and everything, and so you guys went over there. Actually, Mitch and I went over to Eastern Oregon, filled our tags, came back, and then you guys left that Monday or Tuesday.
We left Tuesday.
I think we left Tuesday.
No, we left on a Monday.
Drove pretty much all night.
Yeah. No.
Through the day.
I worked Sunday, and then I actually was able to add a couple days to my vacation. So we left Monday. We were supposed to leave Tuesday, I think, but I got Monday off. So
we left like 3:30 Monday morning.
Yeah, we just got up first thing in the morning and then just drove all day, got over there. And actually the biggest bull we saw the whole season was on night 1.
Really?
Yeah, it was a mile away, but...
Right. That's that 370 bull.
Oh, yeah.
That's a toad.
Everyone that's seen that picture, that's even more experienced and, like, good at judging bulls, as soon as they see it, they're like, that's not a 350 bull, that's at least 360.
Yeah.
Really?
Like, minimum.
Because at first we were thinking, like, easily, probably 350.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Anthony got a closer look at him, it changed.
Well, yeah, because I spotted him with my binos,
Mm-hmm.
and he was just under a mile away, and I could see rack, and they're just 10 by 42, so I'm like, oh, that's a good bull. And I got the spot and scope out and got a good angle on him, and I start looking at him, I'm like, that's a really good bull.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved again and got a better look at him, I'm like, whoa.
Right.
Like, that's why we're here,
But
right there.
He was down in a hellhole.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah. Run me through what setup before we get too far into the story. What setup and the broadhead situation and all that stuff. What you guys used.
So, or I don't know if you know everything.
Like bow I shoot or just arrow?
So you
broadhead?
shoot a 50-pound, 55?
50-pound Matthews Chill SDX,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
which is what she killed her bull with last year.
Right.
We did change the arrow setup, so she was running Black Eagle deep impacts,
Mm-hmm.
and then 100 grain head, and then which at the beginning of the season was a Magnus.
Right. Well, you guys tried getting the iron wills.
Yeah, and I tried to order them about a month out,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess they hadn't put on their website that they were on back order, so I didn't end up getting them.
That sucks.
So we had to cancel the order, and we went over there with those Magnuses, and well, a different style, but that's what she used last year, and
Put a bull down.
yeah, and I've never had a personal issue with those
Mhm.
that exact head. I mean, they're no premium head, but
Right.
they're a good head going into it, and yeah. So later in the story, we'll talk about that. So
Well, I just wanted to lay it out because you guys did try using a premium head like a iron wills.
Mm-hmm.
You ordered it. It didn't show back order. Then after you ordered it, they said, no, we're back ordered.
Yeah.
And we're not sliding iron will or anything. It's
No.
just them selling a lot of heads.
and
Yeah.
like I said, I waited till the last month. So
Yeah.
Right.
We should have ordered them earlier.
yeah,
in
I mean, I didn't
hindsight.
wait till a week out, but I also was in the final month before
Yeah.
the season. So
Yeah.
it's on me just as much as it is them. So
Right. So we have what's the arrow grain and stuff?
like 390.
390. Okay.
Mm.
So that's a little bit more than last year. And you're using a better designed broadhead for penetration over the Black Hornet
and a micro diameter shaft.
and a micro diameter shaft.
Last year we used a standard shaft, and then the outsert collar deal that those come with.
Mhm.
I think they weigh like 45 grains,
Perfect.
so there's more weight up front. Because I'd like her to shoot a heavier arrow, but at 50 pounds you start getting up to like 420 and stuff, 430.
Yeah.
It's not a heavy arrow, but for a 50-pound bow, you start robbing so much performance out of it. Because, I mean, anyone that's listened to me on here before, you know I'm huge on heavy arrows.
Yeah.
Not crazy heavy. I'm not going to go shoot with a 1,000-grain arrow, but as heavy as you can do it. You know,
Right.
as heavy as you can get the bow to perform well still.
Well, she was using a 5-pin Spot Hog sight fixed pin.
Yeah.
And those gaps were just getting huge
Mhm.
with those heavier arrows. So I see why you guys did that. But so I just wanted folks to know the situation of gear and setup and everything before we get too far in the story, because you shot and killed a bull like 30 yards, and he only went a very short distance and
20
died.
yards
Yeah,
maybe.
and died last year.
Couple big bounds is all I did.
Yeah. People have heard us tell that story, but they never actually heard you on the podcast yet. So this is the person that killed that bull last year that we could talk about. So you guys have your arrow set up. You're on your way over. Do you know where you're camping?
Not really. So I found the camp spot that we ended up moving to.
Yeah, and you scouted previously too.
Yeah, the scouting trip was more of an area check because I've never been in there. I've never had any reason to be in there. You know, I'm still 8 years out, 7 years out. So I'm not going to go over there and scout. You know, it's not close.
Yeah.
You know, it's 9 hours, 10
Yeah.
hours to get over there.
9 to 10.
This year I have the same amount of points as Shelby, so I'm just going to draw it.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. That'd be cool.
I would love to go back
About
next
10
year.
years early.
But yeah, so I went over there for a scouting trip by myself, and they had like record heat. It was day one, it was like 108, and then it was 111 the next day, and then I left, and it was supposed to be like 105 that final day I was supposed to be there. So I saw 2 monster muleys, and then one little one, but I saw 0 elk on the scouting trip. But I wasn't really worried about it because, one, I was there just to see the area and learn road systems and stuff. And, you know, with that kind of heat, what do you expect?
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Well, you're really just trying to figure out where you can hunt, where is accessible.
yeah, because there was some stuff on Onyx that looks good, And then I wanted to look at it, and I got there. I'm like, I don't think we're going to hunt this. You know, I mean, it looks great on Onyx, and I love Onyx, but once you were there, I was like, probably not.
Yeah.
So.
Well, some of the stuff, you know, you can see how steep it is on Onyx, but until you actually get there, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
This is steep.
Yeah, it's not flat country.
And it's not just steep, it's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, steep is one thing, but when it's 1.5 miles of steep.
It's a lot.
Yeah, you know, it's not just like a 200-yard dash, and then, that was super steep, but it's only a couple hundred yards. No, this is like, well, I could walk straight downhill for 2 hours and not be at the bottom. So,
well, I have her using all fours to get out of one hole.
A couple times
Video
before
of it.
you got there. I had to do that with him and Ryan, hand off my bow and just.
Well, I've never used trekking poles till this trip.
Really?
Yeah.
And I was glad I had them, except the handle broke. The first time I used them, the cork separated from the pole.
You used cheap ones, though, didn't you?
No, not really.
$5 at Goodwill, I think. No, I'm kidding.
No, I think they were like $60.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
So now I got orange duct tape all over it, so just
Mine's got some blood on the handle from the hellhole.
not elk blood.
No, not elk blood.
So let's fast forward to opening day. What's going on?
So our opening day, the first day we were actually there and set up camp was when we located that big bull.
Yeah, we just went to kind of glass because we just had a few hours of daylight left by the time we got camp set up and everything.
So we glassed. I don't know. I think he was the only elk we saw that evening.
Yeah.
So he was in horrible country, but we knew we could make a play on him in the morning.
It was day one, so we still had all of our energy.
Yeah, so we made a play on him the next morning, and it worked. I mean, we got halfway down that canyon, and we set up and cold called for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and nothing. So we were going to move further down and do it again, and we only went 20 yards, and we got to where we could see, and that bull and a little 6-point were standing there.
The big bull.
Yeah.
The 360, 370 bull.
The monster bull was there.
About probably 30 yards behind the small one.
Yeah, and
Smaller. It wasn't a small
and they were
bull.
coming, but then they spotted movement, and they kind of got a little leery. But I doubt they've been called to very much, especially down there. So once they kind of relaxed, Ryan just fell back, I don't know, 40 yards behind us. But there was we were right on the, like where it rolled over. So we were on top. Ryan rolled off the back. So those elk had to come up and over to see him. He starts calling, and the smaller bull, it was like you were calling your dog. I mean, he looked up at us, or Ryan's direction, and straight in. I mean, just walked right in. And then turned broadside. It was like 34 yards, and she passed on him. But that bigger bull.
I never saw the bigger bull. Anthony. I'm a little short, so a lot of things Anthony and Garrett could see, or Ryan, I couldn't see.
Yeah, so the bigger bull, he was just smart like I've never seen an elk. I mean, they're smart, and I've seen them do like things you're like, wow, that was kind of impressive. This thing, the wind was perfect. We weren't moving, and that little bull came right in. And the bigger bull was following him at first. But when that little bull got nervous again and kind of just froze and was just looking at us, it's like the bigger bull knew, like, okay, why are you nervous all of a sudden? Because I hear these elk sounds. You go up there in front of me, and all of a sudden you're nervous. He's actually the one that busted, and there was no way he could see us.
Yeah.
Using that little bull as kind of like a sacrificial
I mean,
lamb.
that's what it felt like. Because that big bull, all I could see was his rack. Couldn't see his eyes, nothing. So I knew he couldn't see us. And he's the one who busted. The wind never got swirly, nothing. The wind was perfect.
Yeah, when the little bull busted a little bit, I stood up, and all I saw of the big bull was whale tail. And that's all I saw of him as he went into the timber. So I, saw him for a quarter of a second.
Yeah. So he was 50 yards, the big bull was.
Is this in the first morning?
Very first morning.
That's crazy.
We saw him Monday night through the spotting scope, and then made a play Tuesday morning, went down in the hell hole.
So Tuesday morning was the first go at anything, and she's already passed on a 6-point. I mean, that's just how the hunt started.
But it was
and to be
day
fair,
one.
It was probably, how big was this 6-point?
Like 250.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it was not a big 6-point by any means.
No.
And
It's
it was
a regular
day
tag. We all would have shot that
I
bull.
would have shot that bull in a heartbeat.
None
But
of us have ever passed a bull up.
with a premium
It was
tag
weird.
on day one, I just didn't want to.
Yeah.
If it was day 10, you know.
Yeah, and I didn't want her to shoot that bull. But it was really weird, and I knew it would be watching a bull walk away, because I knew at some point during that hunt we were probably going to pass on at least one bull.
Yeah.
Even if it was a spike. But I knew we'd pass on one, and it was really weird to have a 6-point bull standing there 30-some-odd yards and say, don't shoot him.
Yeah.
You know, perfectly broadside, out in the open, no, oh, that's kind of an iffy shot, don't take it. No, it was perfect. I mean, it was textbook what you would want. And just to say, don't do it, it was weird to watch him walk away. So, because for
at
elk,
first
I don't
you
care.
said, "Are you sure you want to pass?" I'm like, yes.
No, that was the other 6-point. That was later into the season.
Oh, okay.
So that's the only opportunity you guys had at a bull that day.
No, we saw another good bull later that day.
But no shot.
No, that was really quick. It was from the road. We
yeah.
were going to a different spot.
Oh, that one that crossed the road with the herd.
Yeah, we were going
Probably
to a different
320
spot.
bull.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you guys also, you said Ryan, so you have somebody else out there helping you call and pack.
Yeah,
if
my
you
buddy
need to.
Ryan gave up part of his season.
Also, yep.
That's cool.
He came over. He spent the first couple days in the Eagle Caps, and then met us over there.
4 days with us.
4 or 5, whatever day you got there. He'd left earlier that day.
Garrett came Thursday.
I think you were 5 days into it when I got there.
So if he left the morning that you got there.
Yeah. Because
Whatever
I got
day
there,
it
I got there a day early because I left right after work. I worked
on Thursday, right?
Yeah, I worked in Salem that day, and then I'm like, "See ya."
Yeah. So he came over, met us over there Monday, and then left Thursday morning, and then that's when he was there.
And so I was there for Friday morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were on bulls every day. There was only one day.
One day when Ryan was there, we didn't see a bull.
Yeah, but we also didn't hunt very hard.
Yeah.
Well, there's that one day we took it easy to help recover, and I don't think we saw. Did we see a bull that day?
Mm-hmm.
We did.
Our little recovery morning day thing, we still got on bulls. I think that's actually the day we got on those bulls that made us move camp, or on that bull.
Is that right?
Yeah, because remember we called that bull in at like 1:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we were there, was just because, let's just go over there.
Right.
Right.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, we went and I had.
Because you wanted to go up to the top, you were going to go drive around. It was like 1:30, and we're at camp. We're just like, well, let's just go meet Garrett and go hunt. We're not going to kill one sitting at camp.
Yeah.
And then, but we got to sleep in, which was nice. And then, then we went all the way over there.
Yeah. So after 5 days, by the time I got there, you guys were tired.
Yeah, because we were.
Yeah.
We
Especially
were
me.
going into spots. The problem we were having was we were calling bulls in every day, and often, or somewhat often,
But they came in silent.
but not. We hadn't heard one bugle.
Really?
So we would just set up and cold call, and all of a sudden, okay, if I was an elk, this is probably the route I would take in here. If I'm in this draw, this is probably the way I'm going to come in, and this is why. This is what the wind's doing. Here's my good visuals. We'd set up for that, and they'd come in complete opposite, and they'd come in completely silent. So it'd be like kind of listening, and all of a sudden I'd look and be like, oh, okay, that's not going to work. And there'd be a bull standing there. And every time, they just didn't work. So Ryan actually had to run away from a bull.
Yeah. Anthony and I, we set up, it was just a code call thing too. This spot looks good. Let's walk in here. We hiked.
Super
We went
thick.
a little hard the first few days. We didn't like pace ourselves. I mean, one day we were just next spot after the next spot, just calling them in because they kept coming in cold or silent. But we set up. Ryan was calling. Anthony and I hiked down, and Anthony thought it would open up at the bottom of this. It was just a small little kind of canyon thing, and it didn't open up. It got even thicker. That's where Anthony fell and like had his hamstring hooked over a branch on his butt at the bottom.
She goes, did you just break your leg? I'm like, I don't know, but we got to move.
As I'm like using my bow to plow through trees because it's so thick, and then we hear the bull running above us, and Anthony looks at me and goes, well, shit, that wasn't supposed to happen that way, because we thought we'd get down and open up, we'd get a shot as he's walking by. But he went straight to Ryan, and Ryan, when we got up there, he was all jacked, and he goes, the only thing I could think to do was run, so I just turned and ran from the bull.
Yeah, because I heard this bull didn't bugle his way in, but when he decided to come in, he wasn't very quiet, and it was because it was so thick. But I hear this bull running maybe 20 yards behind us, and I can hear it, and then I kind of hear it right here, and then I hear another thing running, and I'm like, well, I think there's two. No, it was Ryan that turned and ran. He's like, I didn't know what to do because all of a sudden this bull's running at me.
Right.
And I know you're not going to get a shot from where you're at. He's like, so I try to do something, and so.
You guys ever get eyes on that bull?
I never did. Ryan did.
He said he was a shooter bull for sure.
Really?
Yeah, but we never actually laid eyes on that bull. Same thing.
Too thick.
20 yards maybe, and so thick. No.
That's one thing I was surprised when we get over there, how thick it was.
It is, yeah.
A lot. Some of it
like coast thick almost.
Worse than the coast range.
Yeah.
I mean.
I agree. Like that one, like wild strawberry patch.
Oh, it's horrible.
Oh, my gosh.
So, later in the story, that thickness will come up again.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so
day 5, I show up, and then we go and we hit a random.
Off the side of the road.
Off the side of the spot. Anthony's got Onyx, and then we're driving. We're getting the Taylor Swift going.
Yeah, Taylor Swift produced.
Are you guys, okay, people have heard about this on the podcast. Are you guys officially believers in it yet?
Anthony turned it on, if he won't admit it, on his own on our way over, and I looked at him and I'm like, okay.
Our last day there, she let us down.
Yeah, the last day, the whole trip, she never let us down.
We wore her out.
She was I think we listened to her too much. She got tired of producing for us because the last day she did not produce.
I did turn it on when I went over for Mule Deer. I did come home with the tears.
That's so funny.
He's never told me that before.
Before we left,
I turned it on quiet.
We made a hunt, and Anthony's like, "If this produces on this next hunt, I think I'm gonna have to start listening to Taylor Swift." And we got into bulls that night. So we pick a random spot. We're driving. Anthony's on Onyx. I'm like, "There's a nice ridge that goes down. What's in the bottom of that?" And you're like, "Nothing." And so we're like, let's try that. And then, it's an hour after daylight, probably
somewhere.
And we're down there in the deep dark ridge, and
it was good in there.
We immediately start seeing sign.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was
everywhere.
It was very obvious that they were pounding that area.
Right.
I mean, there
Rubs.
was elk sign everywhere in there.
That big
Tracks,
old bed thing.
Beds, yeah.
Fresh pee still on the ground. They were in there.
So we're going, and I forget if we run into a bull or not.
I walked past him.
Yeah.
He let me walk past him
and I stopped right in front of you.
Because I was.
Yeah, I'm the last one in the line, and I'm like, oh, stop. I'm like, there's a bull like 40 yards directly above us uphill. Anthony might as well be Ray Charles going through the woods. How many elk did you walk by in that?
I was looking down. I hadn't looked up. And then you guys like, elk. And I'm like, looking. I'm like, where did they see these elk? And I looked back at you guys, and you're looking up. I'm like, oh, no. I just screwed this up.
This will happen probably 3 or 4 more times throughout the trip.
It happened on our last trip over.
Oh, did it?
I told him already.
Yeah. So this is a good bull. It's a 6-point, and it's
about the same size as the one we passed up on first day.
I think it was smaller.
Smaller for sure.
Yeah, this was
and then another small one with him.
No, that was a different group.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
we saw so many bulls, we started losing track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I have the camera. I didn't even think about filming. I was like dead set on trying not to get this thing to bust. And so I'm like, Shelby, there's a bull. I think I said he's not a shooter.
Yeah, you said he's not a shooter,
but there's a bull right there.
Yeah. And we watched him for a few minutes, and then I confirmed, not a shooter.
Yeah, and he busts. And I think right there is where I start stripping clothes. And
left your bugle tube?
I left my bugle tube.
Mm-hmm.
And a cow call.
And my Easy Estrus, which is like a $36 call, and then like a $40 bugle tube.
I can't find mine.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not the only one.
Oh, my gosh.
No.
You're rubbing off on Anthony, Garrett.
So, it's horrible. I lost like $80 in calls almost in
like a day.
The first hour.
Yeah, not even.
So, fast forward, we're walking through the woods, and maybe 200 yards, maybe 100 yards, I don't know.
Yeah, you were going to go back and get your stuff.
I'm like, oh, guys, crap. Yeah. I got to go back.
You were heading back to go get your calls because we weren't very far, and we'd gone a pretty straight path, so it was going to be easy to find him. And I'm like, well, screw it, if he's going to walk away. And I bugled, and that was the first bugle we got. It was like 100 yards below us.
Right.
He cracked off. And we're like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, Garrett turned right back around.
Yep. And we set up really quick. And same thing, those bulls, there was 2 of them.
I think I stole your bugle,
and
then I went back to drop back.
He only bugled the one time, and there ended up being 2 bulls.
Mm-hmm.
But we dropped down a little bit. You went up and to our right, and same thing. I'm like, okay, they are probably going to come in this way.
Mm-hmm.
And then
he went up to the left. They came from our right.
Yeah, so that we were right on the edge of a little ridge,
mm-hmm.
and we're sitting there, and I'm listening, and then I could hear them, walking, and I knew what they're doing. I'm like, And I looked at her, I said, we got to move. She's like, why? I'm like, we got to move now.
They're going to wind you.
They went up and around us. What they were doing is, the wind, that's where the wind was going. And then also it put them above you, so they knew they could look down, because it wasn't super thick right there. Well, it was, but it was all like knee-high stuff. So you could see pretty good. And they came in. I mean, the little 6-point was at like 19 when I ranged him.
And it was another 6-point about the same size as the first one we saw. And then
I thought he was a little bigger, and this is the one where I was like, are you sure? Because he wasn't big, but, you know, he's right there, and we're 5-6 days into this now.
Yeah.
And she's at full draw, and he's just standing there dumber in a post. And the little 5-point that was with him had gone further and winded us, and it was like Beavis and Butthead up there. So you got these two bulls, one standing there just dumb to the world, and the other one keeps going. And then I'm watching this bull, and this bull just comes into my view just running like an idiot, like not like a normal elk running. He was just like
a giraffe.
Like a, hey, you guys. That's what it reminds. Yeah, he goes running by, and the other bull doesn't even move.
Really?
And this was a really small 5-point, like.
Yeah, and she's at full draw on this other bull, and I'm like, are you going to shoot him? And she's like, I don't know. And this is where the conversation came in of. All I was saying was, will you be happy with him in 2 days?
I think we have that on video. Actually, we do have that on video because I was listening to it the other day.
Yeah, it's more than a conversation.
It was.
It's like a debate.
Will you be happy with him in 2 days? And she said, I don't know. And that's when I was like, well, you better decide, because if you're going to be happy in 2 days with that bull,
they're here now.
Shoot him right now.
Right.
And I didn't have the clearest shot at him either.
See, that's the other thing.
There's
always a few foot difference. So, to me, it is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
For her, it's a little goofy on the angle.
Anthony's what, 5'10"?
6'11".
Yeah, I'm 5'13".
Cool. And I'm like 5'4". Yeah. So there's a few inches there of a difference. So
I'm 4'23".
When Anthony had like a clear shot, sometimes I had like a tree I had to look through or shoot through.
Yeah.
Where he couldn't tell. So
somebody's listening to this podcast and they're saying, don't pass up an animal you'd shoot on the last day if you'd shoot it on whatever. And I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
On this hunt anyways.
No,
because I would have done the same thing.
Not on this hunt.
The reason is that obviously any bull I'd be happy with. My explanation was, I'd be happy to kill a bull because it's awesome to do that with a bow.
Yeah.
But that's not the bull I came over here for.
Right.
I would be happy, but I wouldn't be ecstatic like I was last year. You know, I came over for a certain type of bull with this tag, and knowing that I had, over a decade before I would draw it, if I don't get lucky again, but before I would draw it again.
Probably be 2 decades.
Probably now bad luck or the good luck's going to bite me. And he wasn't very much bigger than the first bull, the first 6-point we saw in this area either. Okay. He was, maybe a tiny bit, but to me, he didn't look that much bigger at all.
Yeah. So as the shooter, did you ever feel pressured to shoot a bull you didn't want to shoot?
Yes.
Did you?
Which one?
Because I didn't want to make Anthony mad, thinking that I didn't want to come off that I'm being like super picky and, with my second year actually elk hunting, being like super picky about a bull, but I had my mindset on a specific type of bull that I wanted that I know was over there. So I didn't want to settle, but I didn't want to step on toes or come across like I was being,
There was a couple situations that I remember you guys telling me about where you guys were looking at different bulls, and Anthony's.
That happened twice, and that's the only times that I actually was
probably on video.
You've got to be kidding me. So the first bull she passes on, go back to day one, she can't see the big bull. That's the bull I'm looking at. I look at her and say, you are shooting this bull. And at first, when I first saw him, I didn't know 100% he was the big one that we went down there for, but I could see his fronts and everything.
He's big enough.
He's huge. And I look at her and I say, you are shooting this bull. She's only looking at the little bull. She looks at me and goes, no, I'm not. And I'm just instantly like, you've got to be kidding me.
He was pissed.
We're here to shoot a 500-incher.
Yeah. Because I think twice that during the whole thing, I actually said, you are shooting. It was on that one. And then, because I didn't care. If she wanted to shoot a 240,
right,
and that's what she was happy with, it's her tag. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just there to call and pack and guide. So I didn't care about that. But when I'm looking at this 370 bull and she said, no, not shooting him, I'm like, oh.
At this point, I didn't know that bull was there. I only saw the little one.
Yeah. And then that conversation will come back up later in this trip also, because that was the first time I'm just like, no, yes, you are. Like, I'm not. This isn't a debate. Like,
right.
I'll figure out how to make you draw your bow.
So in the first morning when I'm with you guys, we passed up 3 bowls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you could have got a shot at that one. I could have had you walk backwards.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was staring at us
I could
the
have
whole
dropped
time.
down to my knees and crawled, and he wouldn't have seen. Because there was that.
He stood there for a long
trees.
time.
He did. I mean, he watched me, like, stop and everything.
I walked right past him.
Yeah. Yeah. Those bulls over there will let you do that, apparently.
Somewhat. It's the cows that were.
So I'm immediately
cows.
thinking, I'm like, oh, this is going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
We just got to find one big enough. And so we get out of that hole. And
That was not flat either.
I wasn't, yeah.
That was pretty steep.
Yeah.
That's the one I crawled out at the top.
No, I think that was it?
Yeah.
That one?
Mm-hmm.
But the second.
That was one of those spots where it's super steep, but it wasn't real big.
No, it was
we were
like,
only down there like 300 yards.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And then the
if that.
last 2 feet up was that just loose rock, and you can't just stand up.
Yeah. So did you ever feel like you were holding the group back? Because Anthony, he's hard to keep up with.
Oh yeah, I felt like that every single day, especially with him and Ryan, because him and Ryan are both like, Ryan works out all the time, and I don't.
Yeah,
Anthony's
got that
somewhat,
strength
but
in his legs.
He's like a goat. Like, it's
He
just
is.
built like that, and I can't keep up with it. Even if I'm walking my fastest, and the faster I walk, the more I fall. So I've got to like pace myself a little bit.
Well, that's why I wanted to walk behind you so you didn't feel pressured.
Yeah, and that's hunting with her. Period. That's my hardest thing. Is I have to remind myself to stop and slow down, because
For one, your legs are longer than mine.
Well, and I
for
don't
two,
like
I'm not in your shape.
talking about it, but like, it's like I've seriously like designed for it. Like, I can just go and go and go at a ridiculous pace
With lots of weight. Like, I've witnessed it. It's like,
and
you don't even train for it. Like, you go to the gym, but you don't train for that. You just naturally got that silly strength.
And I think that's why I was so tired after 5 days,
I
because
would be following my
we
guy
were
around.
going hard, and I was trying to keep up because I didn't want to be, the girl that holds all the guys back over there on this hunt. And so I was going at 100. I went 110% the whole time, but like those first 5 days, I was just going hard, trying to keep up, and I way overdid it.
And when you say 110%, I completely saw that. I was impressed as hell. That was really cool to see.
And I was trying super hard not to push or anything, because it's her tag. We were over there for almost 2 weeks. It's like, I can't.
And it's not easy land. It's not
No,
like it's
not
flat.
easy. And you just, if she doesn't want to do it, we're screwed.
I was waiting for a blow up or an argument, and I'm like, I'm just gonna, stay out of it. But there was never.
Closest we came to that was on that
Wonky bull.
the weird bull you posted a picture of.
And to clarify, because in the video it sounds like I am
Passed
like,
it up.
yeah, but all I saw from where I was standing,
Oh yeah.
because you were a little bit behind me and to the right, and all I saw was I saw the big side, but I'm like, he's just a spike on that side. That's
Yeah.
kind of lame.
I think did I post audio?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, darn it, it looks like I'm just
Good
being
thing
a
you couldn't
jerk
hear
about
me.
it.
It's a good thing you couldn't hear me, because
Yeah.
But yeah,
all
I'm
I'm looking at is like a 330 side.
Yeah.
And I've got her saying, I'm not shooting him.
that's the thing is like,
We were like day 9.
Yeah.
And the words that were coming out of my mouth,
we're not nice.
I almost stood up and said, screw it then. I'm going. If you're not going to shoot a 330 bull on day almost 10, I'm going home.
Well, somebody said don't shoot a non-symmetrical bull, and I'm thinking this is the coolest bull I've seen all trip.
Yeah.
Everyone I've shown or that's seen
Oh
that
my
picture and I've
gosh.
talked to, the guys that have killed bulls, a lot of bulls, they're like, that thing is freaking sweet.
Once
It's a
he
stud.
turned and I saw the other, like that it rolled and dropped down, I'm like, well, that's
Yeah.
cool. I would shoot. And that's what, when we went in on those, I said, whatever one of those two bulls walks in, the herd
First.
bull, whatever one walks in first, I'll shoot.
Right.
And that's what I told him. I'm like, I just only saw a spike on one side. Like, that was my visual, so I didn't see the full thing.
Did you see like the foot drop?
No, I didn't see
Yeah.
the drop at all. It just the one part that came up in the front, it just looked like a spike.
For
And
you guys that haven't seen the photos, go onto my Instagram.
it's a pretty cool bull.
Yeah, it is. It's the first bull I've ever seen like that.
I've never
Yeah.
seen one like
It's
that.
so cool.
I've seen one that kind of grows more towards the front of its face.
Yeah.
But and he was tiny. Like, his main
Yeah.
beams were, 20 inches.
Yeah.
This thing had freaking fronts of 20.
Well, I remember
Yeah.
I had it, and I was ranging and filming at the same time, and I'm like 83 yards, and then I'm trying to like semi-talk Shelby into it. I'm like, I would, if it was my tag, I would probably
Well,
shoot.
and you hear me, I'm like, he's just a spike on that one side, isn't he? And you're like, no, he's really cool. And I'm like, I can't see.
I'm over there
I'm
about
looking
5
at him
yards
on the
away,
screen.
steaming,
Yeah.
rolling around practically. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh.
So we make that first morning hunt, and then I think a day or two after that we take a break.
Go to town, eat
Yeah.
some burgers.
The hunting kind of slows down a little bit.
We went a couple days where we didn't
Didn't hear a bugle.
hear bugle,
We
didn't
never
really
heard
see much.
We never heard a bugle until we got where we spent the rest of the time.
Yeah.
But we did have more stalks on bulls,
Yeah.
in that big nasty canyon that I filmed you guys going after.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump ahead to where we're sleeping pretty far from where we're hunting. I mean,
It's about a 40-minute drive.
40-minute
through the
drive all on gravel.
Yeah.
The roads suck.
Yeah.
And
Potholes everywhere.
It's not actually that far mileage-wise, but you're only going 5 miles an hour.
Yeah, it took like 45 minutes to
Yeah.
get there.
So we drive to the far next camping spot. It's probably over an hour. Probably easily over an hour
Yeah.
to the next area where we hunted, and we go over there in the middle of the day.
Yep.
And
We park on the wrong side of the road, but
park on the
Well,
wrong
we
side.
didn't know.
Yeah,
No.
we park at this blocked off road and go to the end of it, and there's like nothing. And then
no
Anthony-
sign, no nothing.
Yeah,
We're
so
hiking in there.
Yeah, so we're like talking like this. I'm like, what the heck do we do now? And then Anthony, I think you threw out a bugle.
Yeah.
I just bugled as loud as I could. And then we're sitting there, and it was probably 30 seconds later.
Yeah.
One popped off on the far side. We're like,
We all kind of look at each other like,
like, "What's
holy
that?"
crap, that's first bugle.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
And then
I was skeptical that it was a bull. 'Cause
Yeah.
Just the time of day, and I've called bulls in midday. I know it's a good time, but just where he was and everything, I was just like, I
pretty
don't
darn
know.
close to a main road.
Yeah. I'm
And
like,
the flattest stuff in that whole unit.
yeah. I'm like, I don't
Not
know about
flat,
this.
but still the
Flattish.
flattest stuff.
Yeah, it was easier walking.
Yeah.
So what happens then?
So then we turn around and hike back out and cross the road, and we bugle again, right? A couple times, and he popped
we get
off.
them going. Yeah, we're bugling off the main road.
Yeah, off the main road. So we pick a good spot, check the wind, and just hike straight up the little mountainside there.
Mm-hmm.
Wind was shaky. It was going pretty much straight to him. But I said, if he's far enough over, we'll be fine. We'll get away with this.
It swirls over there in the middle of the day. The wind always kind of just goes back and
Yeah,
forth.
it's those midday thermals fighting for,
Yeah.
Yeah.
To see who's going to win, which way it's going to blow.
Our last day there, it was horrible up there.
Really?
Because the storm was blown in
Mm-hmm.
this last trip. It was like we were cursed. No matter
Yeah.
what we did, the wind was 110% wrong.
Yeah, we'd get it right and start walking, and then all of a sudden we'd feel it on the back of our necks and be like, well, that's
We
cool.
were doing
That's
that same
not-
thing when Mitch and I last weekend. We couldn't do the wind right. I mean, it was swirling literally 24/7.
Yeah.
So we
morning to dark.
got the wind to do something constant for about 20 minutes. And so I'm like, all right, we're going to go this way.
Uh-huh.
I kid you not, we took 2 steps, whirl, right at her back. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, this is ridiculous.
Well, we tear after that one bull. He's up on top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
We get up there.
Mr. Ray Charles here.
Yeah, he's like, we get up there, and we can tell we're close.
Yeah, well, the bull's like raspy, like losing his voice.
Mm-hmm.
And
very,
sounds farther than he was.
yeah, because
Yeah.
he wasn't being super loud.
No.
Everything kind of happened quick that day. Like, we're up there. We know we're close. All of a sudden, Anthony hands Garrett his rangefinder and says, you guys go. And I'm still, like, unknown of what's happening. I mean, I know the bull was close, but I'm like, what the hell's happening? And I'm like, why would Anthony send me with Garrett and not come with me to be there
Yeah.
when I shoot, if I shoot?
I had a
And-
lot going on in my hands,
Yeah.
so I was
Yeah.
just like, go. And
Yeah.
I'll-
But Anthony ended up laying on the ground hiding from cows. And Garrett and I, so we go up, try to get, and we see the bull, but he's running. And Garrett and I look at each other and like, holy shit, that's a huge bull.
Right.
But we saw him as he's running with the cows, and we didn't have a shot.
Well, he was following that hot cow.
Yeah.
I think she was hot, and she was the lead cow.
The
I
rest of the
think.
cows came back to me because
Yeah.
you guys leave, and I keep calling. He's not calling anymore. And I can't see you guys anymore. And I look to my right, and here comes cow, single file. I'm like, this bull's going to come right to me. And the shooter's nowhere to be found. And I actually had cell phone service there, and I started calling you guys. Because
Which we
at
didn't
this,
know.
I
at
didn't
this
know that
point,
either.
I'm laying flat on the ground because the cows are right there, and they're looking like there's supposed to be an elk right here. And they're just looking at me. I'm like, oh, I'm going to see this bull. Where's he at? And he never showed up, but
Nope, he was on that
he was
cow.
with you
Yep.
guys.
Well, what would happen, we walked within 20 yards of his cows, and I see him off to the corner of the left. I'm like, is that, I think I asked Mike, is that an elk over there? Because I saw like an ear, and then I saw it flicker, and then I saw the other one like go like that, like come over like what? And then
What are
there's
you
two
doing?
cow faces looking at us. I'm like, oh, shit. And then they take off.
And that's when we saw
And
the
that's,
bull.
yeah, and then I start punching Anthony in the arm. I'm like, bugle, bugle, bugle. And then he bugles and that bull rips off. And that's when he shoved the rangefinder in my chest. And
Okay.
that's when we switched ways. That happened really fast.
That was all I was like, okay,
Yeah.
bugle. Anthony shoved me with Garrett. I'm just going to
Yeah.
follow and do what I'm told.
Right.
And what I learned in that first situation there, and it was true the whole way through, even once we went back and they were just screaming their heads off.
Uh-huh.
It did not matter how close you got to their cows.
No.
They never got defensive. Each bull had 1 or 2 cows when we went back.
Right. This guy had 6 or
Yeah,
7.
he was the only
Yeah.
one, I think, with cows that we
Yeah.
saw.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even once they all only had 1 or 2, they didn't care.
Nope.
They did not get defensive.
And
of
they
those
would not
cows.
leave the one cow. Each of them had 1 or 2 cows, or if they had 2 or 3,
Yeah.
one of the cows was hot, and they would not leave. They were just dead set. Their mind was on the cow, and they wouldn't come into the calls no matter how close you got.
That's really interesting because, we were on that. So we get on that big bull. He ends up following that cow. We see him run down this opening
Yeah,
like
and
40
he is
yards.
huge.
And immediately I start hearing cuss words, and that's a big bull. And Shelby's the one throwing him out.
He got mad because every time we saw a big bull, I'm like, holy shit, that's a huge bull. It's just the first thing that you think of. I mean, it just
I would
word
hear her
vomit.
talking. I'd be like, shut up. I know he's big and he's 25 yards away. Be quiet.
I think she like.
I just get excited.
Yeah, she sees him come out. And I'm like, we're trying to get to this last tree, and he comes out, and I see his tops, and then I hear, "Holy shit, Garrett, that's a huge bull!" I'm like, "Yeah, that's a shooter." And then
I think I said that like 4 more times.
so we tear off after him. That leads us into another bull, and then Anthony was really smart on this one because he's like, "That bull's bedded."
You
I'm
could
like,
tell just by the way
Yeah.
he was bugling. It
and you were right. He
Yeah.
was. And because I hadn't really ever heard a bull bugle from his bed, or at least recognize it. And as soon as it happened, Anthony's like, "That's that bull's bedded. That's
we're
not
gonna kill him.
Yeah,
That's a bedded bull. We'll get right on.
yeah." And so we got 50, 40. I don't know how close we got to him because once we got in on him,
He got quiet.
he got quiet. And then I don't think we saw that big bull again until evening.
Yeah, we went back in there later that evening, and he was right where we.
Right where we
Yeah,
left
because
him.
after that, didn't we? Oh no, we went back to camp, right?
Yeah.
And then drove the big drive all the way back because this is still day 1 on this herd.
After that, we're like, we're moving camp.
Yeah, we said if we go in again tonight and we get on more
Yeah.
bulls, we're gonna move camp.
Yeah.
Well, because we found bulls willing to talk finally.
Yeah.
And we're an hour away from them.
Right.
I'm not gonna get up at 3 a.m. when I can just take an hour and go move camp.
Right.
And wake up at 5 instead of 3:30. So.
Right. So let's fast forward to the next morning. Oh, and when we went back to go get all of our stuff, apparently a bear had gotten in my,
Yeah.
my
Yes,
tent,
a bear had gotten in
canopy
Garrett's
thing.
tent.
Yeah,
Rolled the propane tanks over.
Yeah.
spilt the silverware. I think that's what spooked him
I think that's what happened.
because that would have been really loud. We have this plastic silverware on this tiny little table.
like a Costco set.
Yeah. And I agree. I think there was a bear in camp because I didn't get to see because you guys started putting stuff back. But you guys said the canopy tent was like
We pulled into the
I thought
camp,
someone broke into our stuff.
and I'm like, Garrett's little like dining canopy is like completely tilted, like it's not straight anymore.
really.
And then we pull up and we go right over there, and the table's dumped over, and I'm like, did someone come in and like rummage through our camp?
And the big full propane tank was rolled and moved.
Yeah.
But nothing was gone. Like nothing was stolen. So I'm like, well, no one came in here because there's tons of stuff to steal if they wanted to.
Yeah.
So it had to have been a bear.
Yeah, because I had a couple nectarines on that little table, and he didn't eat those.
No. He probably knocked that table over after he plowed through your tent and scared off right
He
away.
probably
But
did.
Because there was a lot of bears over there.
There was
We
so
only
much bear sign.
We only
Oh my
saw
gosh.
2 bears, or I think it was the same bear twice. But
yeah, huge. Everything's huge over there.
it was a big bear. But yeah, there was bear sign everywhere we went. There was
Not
bear
one
sign.
canyon that we go into where we didn't see
Yeah.
piles of bear scat.
Oh my gosh, they have a bear problem over there.
What?
I mean, there's bears everywhere. Bear scat.
That's what it's called, isn't it?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
If you're wanting to be politically correct, I guess yes.
Bear droppings.
Bear droppings. I tasted them. They were real.
Yeah.
There's some berries in it. Garrett's like, that looks good.
So we move camp, and the next morning we go back up on the hill, and so we're hunting the same hill. We got the area that we know we want to go.
Yeah, it's just like, yep.
And it's a pretty big area, actually. We went into spots in there we never went
when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's a lot bigger than I realized. But yeah, we climbed to the road that cuts the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
And just bugle off the road, and whatever side they respond from, we would just go after them.
Bail off.
And yeah.
Well, I was thinking, like, you're asking, like, are we going to run into that bowling? And I'm like, I don't know, 50-50?
Yeah,
I
that
don't
first
know.
day we were like, I don't know. Are they
He was
still going to
always
be in
there.
there? And
He was.
for whatever reason, that is the area they wanted to be.
And he has a very distinct bugle, like we said before.
Yeah, you can't confuse that bugle with another bull's bugle because it's the deep, like you said, like he's a chain smoker, just deep, raspy.
He never really bugled.
Losing his voice.
Yeah, like he's losing, and he does more grunting, and he has like the high pitchy at the front, but at the end it's like that just deep, raspy, just gnarly bugle.
Well, we find him within like the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, Anthony, we listen to T Swift, of course, on the way there, and then Anthony goes, "We're going to be on bulls by 7:30."
Yeah.
Sure
He
enough.
did say that.
That was the other thing. I did that every morning. I was never wrong.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I could choose 20 minutes out. I could be like, we'll be on bugling bulls by 7:15.
Yeah.
And it would be before that. Even if we started at 7. It was
Really?
weird. Yeah.
Huh. That bull would answer almost every. If you were in range, he would bugle back at you.
Only at the second bugle, though.
Yeah, he did on the second.
He didn't
bugle.
like the first bugle for whatever reason. He wanted a second bugle, and then he answered every time.
Well, that bull raked more trees than anything I've ever seen in my life. There was hundreds of rubs in there.
Oh, my
I was trying
gosh.
to tell somebody how often do you think he bugled? Because I was trying to tell somebody the other day, and I think I might have been short on how many times he rubbed and how many times he bugled.
He never stopped.
Yeah. It was literally 20 times an hour. I mean, I don't
I was
know.
going to say, if you wanted to get him to bugle every 30 seconds, you could, if you were in range.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't coming to you, but he would respond.
And he would bugle on his
time.
own, but you had to be close enough to hear it. Yeah. So we find him, and then I think he's below the road.
Yeah, that first day he was below the road.
And this is where we get close, like really close. So I think Anthony got him bugling, and we're heading down the hill. So what happens from there?
We're heading down the hill. Don't we? We cut another like weird overgrown road.
Yeah, we did.
And
Old like
and that's that ended up being what they were on that morning.
Yep.
And we see the spike, right? The spike kind of
Spike pegged us.
At like 70 yards.
And so there's this huge tree kind of in the middle of this road. Anthony, Garrett, and I are on one side, and that big bull, Anthony was telling us he was like maybe 5 yards from him raking on the other side of the street. Anthony could see him. You and I couldn't.
Yeah.
Because we're kind of behind.
Yeah. I wish I would have handed you the camera. I never even thought about that.
And Anthony's like, that's a huge bull. He was saying it too, but no shot because he's standing there raking, and there's cows, and that spike already pegged us, but didn't run off, did he? Just kind of saw us.
No, there was 2 spikes. We got pegged twice that morning.
Yeah.
So the first one eventually goes back doing what he's doing. And we give it a few seconds. I'm like, all right, we're good to go. And I look from behind this tree that we're using as cover. No elk. I'm like, all right, we're good to go. And I step out, and there's another spike. He's standing there looking at me. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
I just hold still. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
I got that little spike, that fuzzy spike on video.
Did you?
Yeah.
He's cute.
And Anthony, you said you were like, because the bull was just on the other side of the
Yeah.
road,
Mm-hmm.
5 yards off the road. You're like 15 yards from him?
Yeah, total of like 15 yards.
Yeah. God, I wish I would have gave you the camera. And he was thrashing that tree. There's no shot.
Destroying it.
Yeah. And that's where you were saying it didn't matter how close you were, because we were bugling right in his face.
And he wasn't responding, though.
Didn't care.
He'd rub and he'd bugle back, but he didn't get defensive.
He didn't come in.
He'd never leave that hot cow.
Nope.
So, and then we ended up circling that mountain, figure eighting it like 4 times.
Yeah,
that
we
morning.
did. Chasing him.
We did.
Because we'd lose them because they would just keep moving.
Yeah.
And then we would keep moving, and then we'd find him again. We'd get in range of his bugle, and he'd bugle, and we'd start it all over again. And I think that was the morning we got on those 3 satellites.
That was the first morning we saw those satellites. And you saw the big one. I don't think I did, or you did.
No, all I saw was a
Ray Charles that.
what?
I said Ray Charles that. Only one who spotted him.
I
I saw the little ones, but not
I
the
saw
big
the
one.
little ones. There was a spike, right, and then a smaller, like 5-point.
I don't know exactly what it was. He was the one I spotted first.
The rag.
Yeah, because we're moving, and I look, and I could just see like his nose and one of his eyes, and I'm like, uh-oh. And they were like 60, 70 yards out, and I'm like, that's not good.
Yeah.
And I'm looking, and I could see it's a bull, and I could tell right away it wasn't the right bull. And then there ended up being 3 bulls there. Mm-hmm. But they were doing what we were doing. They were just skirting that herd.
They were.
So they just kind of like looked at us for a little bit and then went left, and we wanted to go right. So I was like, all right, see you later, bye. And
you said one of them was, I'm not sure if you said shooter, but you said he was a good bull.
Yeah, one of them was definitely a good bull. Couldn't 100% tell what he was.
Thick.
Yeah, but you could tell he was a good bull.
So those satellites and us ended up seeing each other a few times throughout the hunt.
That's what ended up
chasing that herd,
making things happen for us. Were those satellites.
So let's fast forward. So we hunt them that day. The big, we just call him the big bull.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We hunted them that second day. We hunted them a third day.
Yep. And
we're on them every day.
Every single day. Yep.
Every day we're
pushing them.
We're in bow range multiple times.
Waiting for them to
like
turn.
Once an hour almost. We're in bow range of them. Just it's thick.
Yeah.
It's it's just
and
they're moving.
I think we did get winded by some cows that didn't matter. They were calves.
Mm-hmm. We did at one point. I don't know when it was during everything, but we did for sure get winded.
Yeah, but we never, and we probably got seen a few times, but by either the lead cow or the bull, I don't think we ever got winded or seen by them.
No, I don't think so either.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, because they would have taken off that time.
And the problem we were having too was you'd get that big bull bugling. Okay, he's about 80 yards this way. Mm-hmm. Well, his herd wasn't staying together very well.
It's dispersed.
So you'd got bull. He's got cows about 80 yards this way, and all of a sudden you'd run into his cows over here 5 feet from you, and then run to him and get him moving. You're like, you gotta be kidding me.
Right.
So that was another problem we were having.
So now we're on day 4 of hunting the same bull and getting in
and
on him.
Day 10 total.
And staying with him all day, every day.
Yeah, and we're just following everything that you hear, getting close, and then challenge. Yep. Mm-hmm. And he's not churning.
And this is a day we were going in here that we saw the wonky bull that we talk about.
Yep.
With another satellite bull, smaller one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I never saw that one.
I saw it run.
It was a little.
Probably that little one he was
5
with.
Point.
Yeah.
I think so. I think the one I said was a good bull.
Yeah.
It's a wonky one.
I think I only saw the weird or the good side on him.
Yeah.
Because the other bull that was with him looked like the one that was with him the morning.
Yeah.
The one of the final mornings.
Yeah. So we're putting like 9 miles a day on the ground chasing this freaking big bull around, and your knee starts hurting.
Yeah, that was. We hiked down in that one. We're gonna hike down in a canyon there.
It actually started. Yeah, started a few days before that.
Started like that was before we found these bulls. It started.
So you're actually you're running around miles and miles and miles and miles, and this is where I really have a lot of respect for what you did out there. Is that you had like a torn meniscus or something?
I did have meniscus problems from a couple years ago, just like a little kind of nick.
Falling.
From a little nick in the meniscus. Took a fall. Yes, I fell.
Sorry, I missed that one.
And that thing pops.
It doesn't act up all the time, but the jumping down from logs, the high impact stuff, the turning, the rolling my ankles, falling on my knee, the uphill, downhill, just the high impact stuff we were doing just really flared it up.
And so you had your own kinesio tape?
Kinesio tape.
Kinesio tape.
So it taped the bad boy up, and that helped a ton.
Which you do for a living. You do that. Sports.
Not taping, but yeah.
The physical therapist kind of stuff.
Yeah, therapist assistant.
Yeah, that's what it is. And so you're like bandaging your own knee up, and you had me feel your knee, and it was like pop. And I was like, holy
because I'm like,
crap.
I don't want them to think I'm just faking a knee pain to get out of it, because it was pretty bad. Because I was pushing through, like, my legs they were past the point of being sore. It was just pain.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can deal with that.
Right.
But the knee pain that was happening, that one I couldn't deal with. But taping it helped. Yeah. I mean, it got me through the rest of the hunt.
Yeah. After that, I was like, I would like, if that was my knee, I don't know what I'd be doing.
I told her, it's your tag. Don't push yourself to the point of not wanting to do it. Yeah. Just doing it because, I have this tag, I have to stay. I said, if at any point you want to pull out and be done, and we'll come back later,
that's fun.
That's what we'll do.
Yeah.
So that's why we took a break.
She didn't.
Yeah, we went.
She stuck it out, but
I went and had. What did I have?
I
stayed away from the seafood.
Yeah, you told the lady, I've been told, this is what Garrett said. We go to this little tiny burger joint. Anthony and I order burgers. And Garrett's like, ooh, the fried shrimp looks good. But then they had chicken strips. And the lady asked him, and he goes, to the lady working at this burger joint, he says, I've been told I'm never supposed to eat seafood from another
from out of town.
From out of town to this lady, and she kind of looks at him like, okay. So he goes, I'm gonna have the chicken strips. Like, oh my gosh, Garrett.
Okay, seafood is risky when you're out in the middle of nowhere.
That is true.
I mean, nowhere, and you're counting on this little shanty to cook it properly.
It's like a coffee shop burger place.
You're asking for problems. So
but they had good burgers.
I was playing it safe, and I had a milkshake. I was not being healthy at all.
Totally
but
keto.
it was a rewarding day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys, Anthony picked up some junk food from the grocery store. Mm-hmm. Remember, you had like a ice cream bar or something like that.
I don't know. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
So back to the story. Anyway.
So anyways, day 4 of this, day 10 of the total trip.
What, day 10? Okay.
Yep, day 4, right? Day 10? Yeah.
I don't know.
This is day 4 on that bowl.
Day 4 on this bowl. So first thing in the morning, he pops off.
Yep.
And we know it's him because of the bugle.
Yep.
So we go in after him. And this is when that video you put on Instagram comes, where on the top of where he always is. And Anthony walks past again, and Garrett's like, bull. And Anthony kneels, goes to his knees because he doesn't see it at first, right? And me and Garrett are standing
I saw
back.
him right away, but I didn't see him originally.
Yeah. And so that's when the whole conversation, when Garrett's like, oh, that's a good bull. And I saw the one side. And I'm like, that's a good bull. I couldn't see the full back, so I could see the front. And I'm like, well, his fronts and his seconds and thirds look really good. Yeah. But then he has a spike on the one side, and that's all I could see because of just where I was positioned. And that's when Garrett was talking me into, he's a good bull. It's my tag. And I'm like, I don't want to shoot a nice bull on one side and a spike on the other.
Yeah.
And then he turns, because he sat there and stared at us for I don't know how long.
A while.
But at 80 yards, and we couldn't move because he had us pegged. And then he turns, and I'm like, oh, that's why you were telling me that he would take that bull, because it was the cool drop tine. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't have scored at all, but he was super, super unique.
I remember seeing him like on the camera, and I'm like focusing it, and then I'm like, oh, that's a good bull. And then I'm like, wait, is that a branch above his head, like coming in there? Like it was an ivory tip, and I was trying to figure out whether that's a branch. And then like, he like just moves a little bit, and I saw that branch move, and I'm like, that's a shooter. Like my heart dropped as soon as I saw that. Like as soon as I could make out his tops, I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
That's a good bull.
Because he was behind some trees, so it wasn't he wasn't just super clear to see, especially where I was standing.
Right.
So that's when the heated conversation happened between me and Anthony, because Anthony finally saw the big side, and I'm like, he's a spike on one side. Yeah. And then when he's telling, Anyways, fast forward, we saw what he really was. I'm like, okay, I'll shoot him.
We're on the big bull at the same time.
Yeah, so the big bull's probably 40 yards from the wonky bull. So they're both there.
See, I thought he was way farther than that, but he wasn't.
No, he wasn't.
We pretty much only went to where that bull was standing.
Yeah.
And that's where everything happened.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I suppose that's right, because I thought that bull was
maybe
like, the big bull was like another 150 yards away.
Yeah, I know. We thought the big bull was farther away, but he wasn't.
Yeah.
Because he got silent because we got close.
Yeah.
And so that wonky bull ended up walking away. So we're like, okay, well, let's move in. And Garrett's like, I'll stay back in these trees and call. And so Anthony and I go to move in, and I tell Anthony as we're walking there, whatever one comes in first, I'm shooting. Mm-hmm. And he said, okay. So we're walking in, and all of a sudden there's like a couple trees to my left, and we stop there because I see the wonky bull and the other satellite bull go running by, and I look at Anthony. I'm like, they spot us? Like, I don't think they saw us.
I was confused because
why are they running?
The wind is perfect.
Yeah.
And I didn't see. They came from nowhere. I'm like,
they came way from the right.
They were kind of running towards us. So
really?
Not like towards us, but angled towards our direction. So I know they weren't running away from us.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
and then
what the heck happened?
I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah. Then next thing, and I'm standing there like watching those bulls, because I'm like, wait, where are they going? And then next thing we know, we hear the herd bull. He finally had enough of people pushing his herd, and he is straight just charging Anthony and I at full speed. And I'm like, he gets to a point where I'm behind a tree, and I know he can't see me because we were kneeling down. So I stand up and draw my bow back, and he pegs us at like 25 yards and just stops dead in his tracks. And he's kind of, I don't know, what is that, quartered away a little bit?
Quartered two. Yeah.
And from where Anthony was a little bit to my right. He had a perfect frontal shot. I didn't have that because I was a yard or two to the left. So I had obviously not a full broadside shot, but quartered two enough to where I could see behind the shoulder. I could see where the shoulder was and where I'm supposed to aim.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get settled. And Anthony says 25 yards. I'm like, got it. Put my pins where they should be and, release, let the arrow go. And as soon as the arrow was leaving the bow, the bull kind of whirled a little bit in the right direction, away.
To make it more broadside.
To make it more broadside. So when the arrow hit, so the arrow hit him, and I saw the arrow hit, because when he started whirling, I'm like thinking, this was all like within seconds. I'm like, crap, he's going to whirl. My arrow's going to hit way back, but it hits probably 6 inches back from the shoulder, the point of the shoulder, and perfect height. Perfect height. And I'm like, holy crap, how did that hit so perfectly? And my first, but the thing, what I saw right away is it didn't penetrate very well. I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. We have a better setup this year.
It went in decent, because my original thought was, it's over. That's done. It is a done deal.
Right.
Like
Dead bull.
it just all came together.
Finally smoked that
it
big
finally
bull.
came together. But then also I'm looking at it, I'm like, those fletchings look like they're tight to the shoulder. And then I'm like, well, crap. Because then I'm that with him moving and everything, I'm like, I hope she didn't just shoulder shoot him.
Right.
But she didn't.
Right.
No.
Well, she had way too much penetration for a shoulder shot.
Yeah. Especially once we found there, that did not hit the shoulder.
Right.
No.
But
and it was, from where I saw, that was, if I was aiming, like when I aimed last year, if I was aiming at that bull from completely broadside, I was telling Garrett earlier, it's...
You heart shot that thing last year.
Yeah, a couple inches up from where I wanted to aim and a couple inches, back towards the body a little bit, but still total lung shot.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a couple inches closer to the shoulder and a couple inches down, so it was heart shot, so it was quick. It was over. We didn't have to search for miles. But it was still a good shot. Like, I would take that shot any day. So I was like, okay, that's a good shot. But then I didn't see much penetration. I could still see a lot of my arrow still sticking out. And I'm like, I just instantly had a feeling like, that's not right. So he bounds a couple, probably goes to like 60 yards. Anthony says, let's go try to get another arrow in him.
Because I bugled at him right away.
And he bugled back.
And that's what made me nervous. So I bugle, he's running. I bugle, he stops and bugles back. And I'm like, well, that's never good. No. And then he walked off. When he got to like 80 yards, and I could still see him through trees, and he's just stopped. And I hate messing with anything once an arrow's in them. Just don't move is my motto. But with everything that just happened, I'm like, let's try to get another arrow in him.
Yeah.
Well, we got close enough. And he's standing in the same spot the whole time. And it took us about half hour to get up that close. 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Probably 20 minutes,
and he's not moving. I'm watching him, and he's not acting hurt. He's acting confused. And
I couldn't see him. After I shot, I never saw him.
So we sneak up, we crawl up there, and he hasn't moved. And I lean out from this little tree that we used to block his view of us. And I range him. It was like 46 yards. And I lean in, I look at it, it's going to be like 45 yards. And she's like, okay. And I lean out again, gone. Like a freaking ghost. And I'm like...
And we didn't hear footsteps, nothing.
Yeah, and I could see pretty well left and right.
Yeah.
He ended up exiting straight away. Is why I didn't see him. But it was just, he's there that whole time. Then I look again, he's gone. I'm like, well, crap. So I think I went back and got you.
Yeah, he came back and got Garrett.
Yeah.
And
I'm like jacked.
Yeah, Garrett comes gives me a hug, high fives. You got an arrow in one, and I'm like crying because I'm like, I don't know.
I was a little nervous. So I don't think we did anything for 3 hours.
We didn't do any.
We sat for about 2.5 hours.
We sat for 2.5 hours, and then we went and looked for the arrow. She shot.
We sat for 2 hours. You guys said, okay, it's been 2 hours. Let's go look for the arrow.
Yeah.
You guys go find the arrow, and then
which is obviously away from the direction we last saw him.
Because we know where he last was when we saw him, and it's a ways away.
Then they come back with the arrow, and that's when we decided to sit for another 45 minutes to an hour.
I find the arrow, and it's kind of sticking up with the fletchings up, and I grab it, and it's not broke. It was the arrow's fine, and I look at the broadhead, and the ferrule of the broadhead is snapped in half. So all I've got is like this.
The base where so
I got the threaded part, obviously, because the arrow's intact, and then I've got like a quarter of the ferrule. Nothing else.
No blade.
Nope, nothing. And I'm just like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And
I knew at that point.
Which
I'm
I'd
like, this
seen
isn't
that.
gonna be
I've
good.
seen that twice before.
I was trying to stay positive, but
Yeah.
it's like, that's not good.
Yeah. As soon
That
as
is
I
not
saw that from a elk hunt me and Mitch were on, he hit one broadside. And what we thought happened, and we thought he got a pass through because the arrow came out like 200 yards down the blood trail. And we think that broadhead snapped on that incoming rib, or we're not sure what happened.
Yeah.
And then it looked identical to that feral, and I'm like, oh crap, you know.
And this is like
we don't
when we
have good
say
blood.
big bull, we say it's 340, 350 easy.
I for sure 350.
Yeah, this bull
For sure.
is that is the bull I went over there for.
Yeah.
So when I shot and I saw that when he finally gave us a shot, I'm like relief, like weight lifted off my shoulders. We finally got the bull. I didn't hold out for nothing.
Yeah.
And then when they brought, I cried first because I'm like, I still had a feeling in my stomach. I didn't see much penetration. My arrow should have gone in farther than that. And I know it was good shot placement. Like I'm very strict with myself. I'm not going to take a shot if it's unethical at all, or if, like, I was hesitant to even want to take a frontal because I didn't practice that before.
Right.
I don't want to practice it on a live animal and end up wounding them and them just be out there or die and we can't find them.
Right.
So for me to take a shot, it has to be something I feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I 100%, kept my bow up when I was looking through my sight. When the arrow hit, I saw it as he whirled. It was good shot placement. But
Well, basically, you poked him with a pencil.
exactly, because that broadhead broke.
About a foot penetration.
What I think happened,
Not even.
Not even?
Nope.
and what it would explain a lot. What I think happened is, I think the broadhead came apart on impact, and I think the arrow deflected and ran down in between the hide and the ribs, because that would explain why I thought those fletchings looked tight to the shoulder. Because if the arrow turned, the arrow's technically going right to left, but the back end of the arrow is going to be closer to his shoulder.
I wonder. Yeah, but because that's possible.
'Cause he
But do you
didn't
think the
bleed
arrow
either.
would have broke?
Yeah.
If it would have happened like that.
Maybe, but I also think if it would have went in him and stayed, it would have broke. Because it was too tight to the shoulder. With him bounding, I think it would have broke.
Really? It's possible. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
all we know is that the broadhead did not
Yeah, it didn't do its job.
Nope.
do
The
us any
broadhead
favors.
failed.
And because, I've seen bulls get shoulder shot
Yeah, me
and
too.
bleed a decent, not like a lethal amount of blood, but, little pools, at least the size of your fist or bigger. Where he stood for over 20 minutes, we found, 1/4 size drop of blood?
Yeah.
So
And
no
he
blood.
peed and he was bugling and
Yeah.
No blood.
already
And the-
thinking about elk poontang.
Yeah. The like 5 yards of blood we have, it was just like tiny little like specks of blood that we were on hands and knees Garrett was on hands and knees having to try to find. And then it stopped and nothing ever again.
Yeah. And we grid searched for how?
13 miles that first day. So we shot the bull. We waited 3 hours with everything, finding the arrow. Then after 3 hours of waiting, we went to try to find the bull. We gridded the area. First, Anthony and I went and searched the area where we thought he would, die if he did. And then
No bull.
no. And I knew instantly that I'm like, that's it. That bull got away.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many times I cried. And then Garrett has that on film too.
I do. And I felt like a piece of crap filming you, but I'm like, this
it's
is part of the story.
It's real.
Yeah.
It's real hunting. That this stuff happens. But so we decide to grid because we're not finding anything. And we gridded that day for about 9.8, 10 miles that first day. We
Right.
split up like 50 yards from each other.
We're ribbiting it off.
We gridded. We searched every possible way we thought that bull could go that day. And then at that point, I was pretty much done because I was exhausted already, but kept going for, the bull. And then the next morning, we went back in and did about another 3.4, 3.3, something like that, more miles, searching, seeing if we could hear coyotes, we could see birds, find anything. And it was silent that morning. We didn't hear a bugle.
Right.
But we didn't see blood. We didn't see anything. No coyotes, no sign that says dead animal in the area. So then we left, right? We went back to camp.
Yep. It was our time to go.
Packed stuff up. Yep. We didn't have any other broadheads, so that was one thing. I didn't feel confident or comfortable shooting at another bull.
That's right. You're like, I'm not using these.
with the broadhead that just failed on the bull of my dreams, the bull I went over there for that I passed the other ones up for. So I'm like, I don't feel confident or comfortable at all shooting these. So, I mean, what our only choice was to go home. And we knew we still had the 3 days left that we just got back from to go over there. And we knew they would be probably more in rut. And my hopes was to find the bull and shoot him, obviously. But at least make sure he didn't die.
Closure.
Closure, yeah. I needed some kind of closure.
I was pretty confident he was alive when we left there.
I was not.
A bull, even with one punctured lung, he's not going to stop right away and start bugling.
Well, think about how often they get punctured by other elk with antlers. And
and this did barely any damage.
Not only not die, but he's not going to start bugling right away.
In full bugles.
Yeah.
He had healthy bugles.
Like I said, he didn't. When I was watching him, he didn't act hurt. He was acting confused. Like,
what the heck?
Yeah, because when he came in to those calls finally, I mean, he was like a movie scene. Those little like Christmas trees that are like 5 feet, 6 feet tall. He was running through them, like not like just going through them, like literally running them over. He's coming straight at us, and before he pegged us and stopped, I was starting to think, I'm gonna have to stand up to stop this bull because he's gonna run us over. Because he's going to try to get to you.
Yeah, Garrett, you were what, 20 yards behind us?
Oh, I was like 60.
Okay.
A 1,000-pound animal hits you at full speed, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So I mean, and he just had this evil look on his face of like, I'm going to kill this bull now. And it was actually impressive. I didn't think about it till later. It was impressive to me that
how good the calling was.
No, that was horrible. Like, the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, I didn't know Mr. Hoochie Mom. No, just kidding.
Not true. Garrett's a good caller.
That's funny.
It was impressive to me how aware he still was. So he is in a blind rage. I mean, you can see it in his face. And he's going full speed.
Yeah.
Doesn't care about trees. And he is so aware of, I guess, his house, where he lives. We were in decent cover, and he still, at full speed and everything, pegged us like that. I mean, he's just running, and all of a sudden, he just, boom, stops, and he's looking at us.
And you're already at full draw?
Yeah.
And you guys weren't moving around?
No.
I didn't get to see his full rage face because I was like, don't look at the antlers because you'll shoot the antlers. Don't think about how big he is because Anthony's been telling me for 10 days, I know he's a big bull. Stop saying it. I'm like, just focus on aiming and doing, my shot routine. Just focus on that, finding a good spot, settling down, calming down, stop, don't worry about shaking.
He just knew we weren't right, though. It impressed me.
Knew something was out of place.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
you're not supposed to be there.
At full speed, blind rage, he still was, that's not normally in this spot.
Yeah.
So that, I didn't think about it till like a day later, but it was impressive.
I feel like that's something that we haven't ran across because we've never hunted a caliber of bull like this. That has, and granted, I think he lived there. I don't think he was one of these Rockies that traveled much.
No,
I think if you notice the chair's out of place in your living room, you're going to be like, what in the heck is going on here?
Yeah, who's in my house?
Yeah. And he saw two blobs or something that weren't there or shouldn't have been there.
I think it was her camo pattern. Mine did not.
No, my fusion was great.
Oh, here we go.
No, I like fusion. I was joking.
Were you in like...
someday I'd like to be sponsored by a camo company.
I was in the world's greatest ASAT.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I was in ASAT, too.
Yeah.
I'm the only one, the only cool one that wears fusion, so
I was in First Light ASAT, so I make everybody happy.
Sometimes I lose myself when I'm in that stuff.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, shoot. So he pegs you. You shoot, all that happens, and then we leave empty freaking handed.
Yeah, which was a tough pill to swallow because...
Heartbroken for you.
Yeah, because it should...
But we knew we were coming back.
Yeah. But it was hard for me because it should have been a done deal. I made a good shot. If I would have made a poor shot, then I could have been like, okay, that's my fault. I should have done this better. But it was I did everything right. And then the broadhead failed, came apart. And that's stuff. It happens. It's, nothing.
We're not trying to make excuses.
No.
We don't have the shot on video.
Or bash a company.
Nope.
A lot of guys use the Magnus. It was a Stinger.
Yep.
With Buzzcut with plenty of
yeah. I killed
success.
my bull last year with the same broadhead.
But I have seen that be,
and I have a good relationship with the owner of Magnus.
Mike is a top shelf guy.
Yeah, he is.
I just won't use those style broadheads anymore.
And that thing could have had a weak point in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It could have had a defect that you couldn't see. I mean,
you can't.
It's a mass.
Well, it's a $30, $35, or $40.
It's a mass-produced product.
Yeah.
somewhere along the line, some of them are going to have flaws.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd go with
That's just the way it is.
I'd go with like the Black Hornet or something more solid.
And that's what she used last year.
Yeah.
And you could barely even tell that thing went into anything.
But that's not good for penetration for Shelby, though.
No.
She
So that's
did
why
that.
we changed.
It's short, wide, and has steep bleeders.
Yeah.
I do like that head.
No, that's a good head, but it wouldn't break like that, like the Stinger or the
No,
Buzz
like I
Cut
said,
would.
the one she shot in that bull last year, it broke the near rib, and you can't, other than being dull, you can't really tell it ever went to an animal.
And so, we're not bashing anybody. We're just telling the story the way it happened. And the way that I believe it hit a rib, broke immediately, and then she poked it with a pencil. That's all that happened, really.
That's exactly what we think is a nicked, which is, you can't not, shoot an animal and hit a rib shouldn't, you know what I mean? That's still a good shot.
Between the ribs.
Like I said, that's the third time I've seen.
I should have used my X-ray vision
head.
and aimed between the no. But still,
what you're doing.
Good
Hashtag
shot.
glad they get better.
Yeah, a good, good shot placement. But and it could have been, like I said, I could have used my third arrow in instead of my first one and not had the same problem, but use the same head.
Right.
It's just something with that head was just weak, and
So,
that's
let's fast forward to you guys going back.
okay.
Yep. So we had a week in between. So week 3 of season, I hunted for myself.
Right.
Because she didn't have time off.
You got that buck.
Yeah, I deer hunted.
Nice buck.
Yeah.
Nice buck.
Because we drew that tag, and I didn't want to feel like I wasted my points, so I ran over there.
For 2 days.
I'm telling them, their deer are so stupid.
Yeah,
they
and I get there, and I'm just like, you got to be kidding me.
There's big bucks everywhere.
Anthony calls me. I do not know what Garrett was talking about because they are running. They're spooked.
He's like, right where we camped.
They're logging everywhere, which, okay, whatever. I've always hunted around logging, right?
Yeah.
Well, then you got the Forest Service. I don't know what they were doing, but they had groups of like 10 guys and girls all over that mountain just walking the timber. No tools in their hands, just groups of 10. I would be sitting there and I'd be like, there's like 10, 11 people just walking through the timber. And I think that played a part of it. But anyways, I ended up shooting a buck. I come home. That was a horrible trip. I froze. I was not prepared for the weather.
He almost came home the night before.
He filled his tag in a day and a half.
Yeah.
I know, which is when you put it on paper, it's like you were complaining.
Right.
And I saw like 60 to 70 deer in a day and a half.
Oh, God.
But
that's horrible.
Yeah, but
Darn it.
I wasn't prepared for the weather. I froze. I mean, the first night I get there, I go to sleep, I wake up, it's 22 degrees. And I'm prepared for like 50.
Yeah, because when I think I was telling him, like, yeah, it's like 40 and then gets up to like 70 or 80. And
well,
then...
I checked the weather for the nearest town. Yeah. And it was accurate.
Yeah.
But all you do is climb. And it just...
You're about 6 or...
I don't know, whatever cold is. I mean, whatever height you got to be to get to that, because that's where I was.
He almost came home, too. He called me. He's like, should I come home? Should I stay? It's just so
Dude,
cold.
I was miserable.
And I'm like, well, just sleep at, he's at the gas station. He's like, I guess I could just sleep here. It'll probably be warmer than the mountain. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea.
I dropped back down to town and slept at the gas station.
I'm
like, you called me. I'm like, no, go hunt like the open sage area. Like, get, change it up. It's worth staying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I told him too. I'm like, if you come home, I said you're already tired because it was already like 8 o'clock at night, and I'm like, I don't want you to drive by yourself when you're tired because I'm not there to like yell at you to wake up if I see you nodding off or whatever. So don't drive tired. And I'm like, you're not going to kill a deer if you come home, and I know you're going to regret it tomorrow when you get home. You're going to tell me I should have stayed there.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'm already there.
Yeah, try to stay warm. So he finally says, okay, went back and forth a little bit, but then he decided to stay. And then the next morning, I'm at work in between patients. I go check my phone because I hadn't heard anything from him. And
when she texts me, she goes, "How's it going?" And I had just got to him. I was standing over him, so I took a selfie with him.
So I get this selfie, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" But I had to text back and said, "Yay" or something, and then run back to my next patient. But
so you get a deer, and you guys switch out broadheads, right?
Yep. So we went to, and this is the first year I've dealt with them. I bought one of their heads, just like you can buy a single pack.
Yeah.
And I was super impressed with it. But I didn't buy them for her because I think I bought that during season. Just because I guess they came in a little underweight. They were supposed to be 125 and they weigh like 121 or 122.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, oh, we didn't sharpen them to our standards. Well, I could still shave hair with that thing.
Really?
Yeah, and this is not their standard. So they're grizzly sticks.
Mm-hmm.
They're out of Bend. I ordered 2 packs of those for her, and those things are sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah. Crazy sharp. Insanely sharp. Tough. They fly good.
I think Anthony watched me every time I knocked an arrow because he was worried I was going to cut my finger off.
Yeah, I mean, they're that sharp. Like,
Really?
they're sharp enough to kind of make you nervous, you know. And so that's what we went back over there with.
Which one did you go with?
The Silver Flames.
Silver Flames.
Mm-hmm. So,
okay. Those are a premium broadhead.
Yeah.
Those are $100 a dozen, or $100 per 3.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 But they're good.
You know, and their shipping was great. I mean, I had them in granted, they're just 3 hours away, but
We had them in 2 days.
Yeah, and say I ordered them, and within a day or two, I had them.
Yeah.
Really?
And I was fine. You know, I said, whatever you have to do.
Yeah, she was like, just whatever it is, I don't care.
I don't want.
Buy a broadhead.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to have that happen again if we go back over there and get to arrow another, you know, the same bull or another bull. I don't want to have that happen. I can't handle that happening twice. And so,
not saying you have to buy a premium broadhead to kill an elk, but
no.
But after that last experience,
After the
you're
last
like,
experience and with it being a premium tag and I'm a girl and sensitive and that happened and I cried too much. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just do everything we can.
Yeah.
We went back. So we go back, and it's my 4-day weekend. So we drove all night. I got off
we
work.
both worked. We both got up Monday morning at 5:30, worked all day. We got home about 6, both of us. Loaded the truck up and then left. Drove through the night.
And for the first time, I didn't make it without stopping. I've never not been able to make a drive.
Huh.
At like midnight, I just pulled over. And right out of
I think it was like 1:32 in the morning.
right out of the last actual town, I just pulled over. I'm like, I can't do it.
It's bad.
Because
I haven't had an energy drink in 2 years. I drank one.
and he still was falling asleep.
It just made my heart hurt.
Really?
So, my fingers hurt. So we pull over,
Right.
keep going, and we got to camp.
It was like 4:32 when I looked at
I was
the
gonna say it was
clock.
about 5 a.m. when camp was actually set up. So we actually slept in. Like,
We were going to go out that first morning, but when we laid our heads down to go to bed, it was like 5:20 something.
You would have been waking up in 45 minutes.
it was about a half hour later.
And
my
we
alarm was
set the
going off.
alarms to go off, but we were just so dead tired because we'd been up for like 24 hours. And I'm like, I'm going to be walking, falling asleep out there. So let's just sleep in and then
Hunt good in the evening.
and then do a good evening hunt. And so
Which we didn't even do. We got up and went out at like noon.
yeah, we went out. I think it was like 1:30ish. We went out and just spent the rest of the day.
Made the same hike up that mountain, hit the same road, started working our way up the road. Boom, bulls.
In the middle of the day again.
Middle of the day.
Huh.
And not just one bull, multiple bulls.
Oh, killer.
Yep. And they are in the same spots where she actually put an arrow in that bull.
Really?
Matter of fact, the first bull we actually got in bow range.
Was standing on our tape.
Yep. He's raking this
marked.
tree right
You're
in front of
kidding me.
and right next to him is some of the tape I put up, or one of us put up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're same spots.
That's crazy.
And we stayed with those elk all day, like in them. Like at one point, that 1-6 point, he was under 30 yards for like half hour, 45 minutes.
That was day 2.
Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
So all that happens. Well, I start hearing this bull. We never saw him that day,
We didn't see him day 1.
but
or that
he's got
afternoon.
just a graspy, just brrr. That's all he'll
And
do.
he didn't say anything to me. And I thought I heard it too, but I'm like, nah.
I'm hearing him, but I don't want to be like, oh, maybe that's him. So
Yeah.
I can hear it, and it's distinct, but I'm like, okay, whatever. The next day we go in, same thing.
That was like the most awesome day of both. Obviously, I mean, granted, no bull went down, but still, like, for elk
The
hunting
second
and what
day
that
was
unit is
amazing.
supposed to be,
Really?
that was it to a T.
Yeah.
Huh.
It was.
I mean, we get up there at daylight. First time I bugle, it's just
Yeah,
all
they would just
around
pop
us.
off.
You guys had them bugling around your camper.
Yeah,
Oh,
that,
yeah, that
so,
night, yeah.
Yeah.
Monday night or Tuesday
couldn't
night.
go to sleep. What kind of
Yeah,
crap is this?
Anthony like just falling because he always twitches when he falls asleep. So I'm like, okay, he's twitching, he's falling asleep, and I was still wide awake, and I'm like, all of a sudden I hear one, and I'm like, elbow Anthony, he's already awake. He's like, I know, I heard it, and I'm like, that's a freaking bugle, and we're laying in our tent, and
Two of them
then
were behind the tent, and one sounded like he was right at the tent. I mean,
Yeah.
he was right there.
there was one where we
He
camped.
was
There's
probably
like
like 80 yards away.
a
But
big open field, and I think one of them was in that little open area behind the tent, and then or two behind the tent. And at one point, and then there's an owl in one of the videos I have. You just hear, I've never heard an owl before, but they're the weirdest animals. That was going off, and these bulls were just bugling around our tent.
That's cool.
It was the
Owls
coolest
really hoot.
thing. They do.
That's a real thing.
Yeah, they do.
Super loud, and then he kept going like,
yeah, he kept making it weird. It was weird.
It was weird.
But yeah, we fall asleep with the elk bugling, and I'm like, tomorrow's going to be a great day.
I wanted to walk out of the tent, and would you guys shut up? But anyways, yeah, so we go up the next morning, and it's just probably like 7 bulls are just, this first bugle I let go, they're just everywhere. So it's kind of like choose one. So we go in, and we get on these multiple bulls, we didn't go up right away. We went
down first.
We went down
towards that little road that we
old overgrown road.
And we got a bull bugling, and we're sitting there.
And this is like 7:30 in the morning.
And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden it sounded like someone was falling timber.
Yeah, Anthony grabs me. He's like, "That's elk. They're coming in."
Yeah.
So we're both on our knees, kind of tucked in this tree.
Yeah, and he pushed his cows to us.
Yeah,
really?
like 10 yards. They were weird too, because I asked Anthony, because the one cow I saw, I don't know if it was a calf. I'm like, it was the cutest thing ever. It was like literally fluffy, and just all of her hair was standing up. It was adorable.
And then it had to have been the lead cow, just because the way she acted and what she ended up doing. So she goes up and around us. That bull follows her, not because the other cows are. Some of them
right
are like,
in front of us.
like 10 yards maybe, and some of them are like 15, 20 yards. And she goes up like to our right, and he follows her, and he's going to come through this big opening. Instantly, as soon as I see him, that 100% shooter bull.
Yeah. And Anthony tells me, he said he's going to walk right through there. It's 35 yards. Get ready. So I'm like, okay.
Exactly what he did. And I'm trying to stop him. I am freaking his.
Yeah. As soon as I saw him step out, I pulled my bow back. I was good. I was on my knees, good shot, bow back, and I'm like, oh, it's going to happen. And I'm like, 7:30 in the morning, we're going to be able to pack them out and go home and sleep in our own bed again. And then Anthony bugles. He's keep bugling. The bull doesn't stop. And like the second bugle.
Well, I tried to stop him with cow calls. And when he finally stopped, all I was thinking was, please don't let an arrow go. I don't want to hear an arrow go. Because I'm standing behind her, and all I see is guts.
Yeah. The only shot I had.
No arrow, please, no arrow.
Yep. The only shot I had was like the back, the butt, the back, the back quarter, and then guts. And I knew when he stopped, I'm like, well, I don't have a good shot. So I immediately let my arrow down. I'm like, I'm not going to shoot. That's a bad shot. It's unethical. I'm not going to do it. And Anthony was like, okay, I'm glad you didn't take that.
So he starts going up above us, and our wind is kind of going that direction. I'm like, screw it. And I just freaking bugle. So I've got his cows, all but one. I'm in between them. They're like 10 yards. He's at like 30. All that happened in that situation was he looked. That cow that was above him barked at us.
Yeah, I've never heard a cow bark before.
Oh, and really? They just went gone. I'm like, well, that ain't work. But I mean, what was I was about to get winded. Is try something.
Well, a lot of scenarios that would work.
Yeah, and it's like I'm gonna get winded. I can either try this with low confidence it'll work, or I can sit here and do nothing and the same result's gonna happen.
Right.
So they leave. We see where they cross the road, and I'm like, well, they didn't wind us. They just all of a sudden there's a huge bugle, and they're like, well, there's no bull here. Let's leave. So we go up over the road, and then we just ran into a bugle fest up there.
Yeah, they were just
going nuts.
This is another Ray Charles moment, because after that,
no, that was the other day, the next day.
No, that was all the same day. Maybe that afternoon then.
Maybe, I don't know.
Because we were in there for 4 hours. We didn't bring lunch, so we when they kind of got quiet for the morning, we went back out and ate lunch.
But we were on bulls all morning.
Yeah, that
like
morning.
Really. 20 yards. We caught a bull by himself, a nice big bull, just raking a tree. And I'm like, that's the bull we're going to kill, because he's oblivious to the world and he's alone.
Right.
And we ran right up on him. I mean, 30, 40 yards. No shot, gave us a slip. I'm like, yeah, be kidding me.
God.
And so we keep moving, and we're just at the top of this ridge, and I got this log right here.
This is when you saw what you think is my bull.
Well, that wasn't this bull. But
no, this next scenario, right?
We kind of lost him a little bit. Like, I can hear bugles off in the distance, but we're starting to lose them. So now we're starting to move. And I bugle, and right there, this bull just screams at me. And I look, and he's like 25 yards.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, crap. And I just hit the dirt, because I know he's going to know I should see you. Mm-hmm. Well, he just keeps doing his thing with this. Same thing, hot cow. You could tell which one it was. He was on her. Mm-hmm. And we dealt with him for over an hour. One time, under 20 yards. And he just
Before that, though, there was that other, like, 280 bull. The smallest bull we saw this whole time was, like, 280, 290.
That's crazy.
Down when
They
we
were
were
all
trying to
big
get to
bulls.
the bigger one, or we were trying to get to the bull. We didn't know he was there. He was kind of down this hill, but never gave us a shot. And then we got on the other bull that was to the right of him.
And the low, graspy, weird bugle that bull she put an arrow in, I'm hearing this the whole time again.
Really?
And then I lay eyes on a bull that's massive. Rack is similar to his, just, obviously it's not like it's got a sign on it where it says, what it is. But I'm looking at him, I'm like, well, and I instantly thought that rack looked familiar.
He looks at me and he goes, I didn't see him, but he goes, that is a giant bull.
Well, I'm watching this bull, and he's probably like 90 yards out. And he's moving from left to right. And I'm looking at the rack. I'm like, even the rack looks familiar. And he's bugles. I'm like, okay. And I'm watching him. He's limping.
Really?
And I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Because that bull, the big bull, back up a little bit. That big bull, when he came crashing in, Shelby shot him, you said he was limping.
And
You
now
said
he
was walking funny.
Yeah, it looked like he'd already...
Before she shot him.
And now he's been hit on that right side, and that's the same side.
Yeah.
It was that bull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean...
I can 98%...
Everything
Just from the
matched him
bugle.
to a T. And even down to if you bugled once,
He wouldn't
you
respond.
wouldn't respond. You bugle again, and bugle twice quick. Not just bugle twice, but if you bugle, wait 5 seconds, bugle again, he'll answer the second one.
But not the first.
He was doing that. Everything about him was the same.
It was the bull.
That had to have been the bull.
Yeah.
Except he only had like 1 or 2 cows now instead of 6 to 10.
Yeah.
And then all the other bulls in the area had like 1 or 2. So what happened is he probably lost most of his cows, only got a couple back, and the rest kind of dispersed. But that was, I felt a lot better just knowing that I didn't, he didn't die and we didn't, couldn't find him. And because he could have died 5 miles from where we shot him. But just knowing that he was still alive and still bugling and still had cows, Yeah, he probably didn't feel good, but he was still alive and I didn't kill him for nothing.
Right.
Yep,
That was my biggest thing, is I didn't want to do that.
So we ended up, we backed out eventually because
it kind of went quiet. We lost him. We
kind of started losing, and the wind started getting a little weird.
Well, what happened was that we were on that one, kind of down this hill that we worked for like over an hour, that was bugling back and forth, but never gave us a shot. And then we get within the 20 yards, and he kind of goes up, and we see him up above us. And so we go back up and try, and then that's when we went down the mountain, and there was 2 other bulls, him and another bull, on the backside of this mountain that were also bugling, and we were trying to remember. That's when they did a J to the left and we did a J to the right, and
That's
then
what I think happened.
we couldn't hear him. That's what he thinks happened, because we just lost him. So we decided we just hiked down. We went to the other side of the road, and then just hiked down to the road and went.
We hit the far main road.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Wow. He went a ways.
that's the day we did 9.8 miles.
So
or 9.7
we
or
had
something.
to walk right past camp to go get the truck. So, and we actually did find a dead carcass, right on the side of the road.
With bear shit. I'll do that for you guys.
Oh my God.
All over.
Yeah.
Fresh. Like,
But you could tell someone had killed a bull in there because you could tell it was
was processed?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could tell.
Okay.
and then the half of the ribs were dragged to the other side of the road from the bear, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So, and then that was probably the dude staying in a teepee.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Probably Mr. Yeah. Anyways, that guy.
Yeah. We ran into some questionable hunters with questionable tags
Yes.
Yeah.
who shot
I have no-
questionable elk.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that they had a tag for that area.
Yeah, the wrong tag.
Just not that
What
one.
the animal they were shooting, I don't think it was correct.
No, I believe that 110%.
Just by what he said and the way he was acting, and so.
But anyways, that day we go back to the road, right? And we
Yeah,
hike back to camp. We eat lunch,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like jacked to get back up there
I
because
think
I'm
we
like,
went back at like 2.
yeah, we ate lunch. I think we tried to take a little bit of a nap, and then we're like, let's get back up there. So we went back up at 2, and then all evening,
Instantly.
just
Really?
bulls left and right. We chased
Right
and
where
that-
we started that morning. So everything happened, and all these elk are kind of moving, say, to the left out of this spot. We go miles, give it a couple hours, come back, and they're right where we started.
That's
It's
crazy.
like they left because we were there, and then they came right back as soon as they.
So this is when I had another Ray Charles moment. So
Yeah, I was even like, dude, it's right there.
we get bulls going again and start slipping in on them.
I don't think I heard about this one.
And it's
It's the one I told you about earlier.
it's where she shot that bull. So
Yeah.
you know how it is in there. It's somewhat open.
Yeah.
Like it's thick, but most of the stuff's not very
But
tall.
there's like random spots of like thick trees
Yeah.
and then open.
So
yeah.
we're working the very edge of that, and I just because I've been in there with them 40 times at this point, I know they're probably out in that open.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really paying attention to out in the open because I don't want to get caught.
Well, what we were
And I hear, Anthony, stop. And I'm like looking, I'm like, I know I didn't miss anything. And I look in front of me, and this massive bull is 40 yards looking at me like, what are you?
Oh, shoot.
And I'm just looking, I'm like, oh, God.
Well, no, before that, there was a bull probably 80 yards in front of us that we watched. And he was coming. Remember, he was
No, that was after that.
Oh.
Because that was after that.
So, yeah, we're walking. And
I screwed that up.
Yeah, because I was going slow. That's why I was so far behind him, because Anthony kept telling me.
I was going to let her shoot over me. I was screwed.
When you know a bull's there, he goes, don't talk because they can hear you, and go slow. If you're moving slow, that you have less of a chance that they'll see you. So I'm like moving slow, and my eyes are wide open. I'm looking, and I'm like looking to the right, and then I come back and I see a cow. And then I see the ends of horns, and that's when I'm like, Anthony, stop. And I said it kind of loud because I whispered it at first, and he didn't hear me. He kept walking. I'm like, Anthony.
I was just on a nature walk, I guess.
Yeah, he finally, this tree's neat. He finally stopped, and I see this bull like whip around, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is a huge bull.
Big one, huh?
But they didn't run off. They didn't walk off by any means.
If I would have had a tag and a bow, I could have shot that bull because I ranged him. He was 42 yards from me. And he stood there for 5 to 10 seconds.
Back behind Anthony, so all I saw was like, but.
Was he as big as your bull?
No.
Probably I'd put him about 320, 330. I mean,
that's a good bull.
No,
I was shooting when we went over there. I was shooting any bull,
bull over 300, wasn't it, or 320?
No, the second time it was going to be any branch bull.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Kind of, just because we only had a couple days.
I mean, I said I wasn't going to shoot a spiker like the one 5-point that we saw that was kind of super wide and didn't go up very high at all. I said nothing like that, but a decent branch bull, anything that I thought was bigger than my bull last year, I said it's game this time.
Yep. So I blew that. We're standing there, and I'm kind of like, whoops, that was 100% my bad.
Ray Charles, more like Helen Keller.
Yeah. So I'm like, screw it, and I bugle. Another bull off to our right.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, okay.
Like where we shot my bull, like back that way, because we were right at the edge of the timber there.
I start talking to this bull a little bit, and all of a sudden here he comes, and he's trotting.
And I'm standing up so that if he comes in, I have my bow, and I'm like, I look at Anthony because he's on his knees calling. I'm like, he's coming in.
Yeah, I start catching glimpses of him, and he's moving, and I'm like, sweet. And then
he was a shooter bull too. He was probably 315-ish.
Yeah,
somewhere in there.
I get a good look at him, like, yeah, that's a good bull.
Huh.
And it was just too open. I knew.
He spotted me because I was standing up, and there was a tree to my right and to my left, and I was kind of in between them. Mm-hmm. Like the branches were touching each other, but I mean, I obviously am out of place. And so I think he spotted me is what he spotted. But I mean, it wasn't moving. I was just standing still.
I think he was just nervous because he knew he could see. And it's like, I don't see you.
Well, plus a lot of those bulls were on high alert because of probably getting their butt kicked.
Yeah, by
that. Well, the bull that you ended up shooting ended up being named Thrasher.
Yeah.
By that one guy because he thrashed everything.
Yeah.
And he was very aggressive. He's the most aggressive bull I've ever seen.
Yeah, for
he
sure.
Was super smart.
So that didn't work out. That one, which as soon as I saw him, I knew our odds were low. And just because it was too open.
Yeah.
We weren't set up because it was like, oh, okay, got him to bugle. I'll bugle at him again, locate him. Oh crap, there he is, and he's running. That's.
And this was all still day 2, but just our evening portion of day 2.
Yep. Huh. So kind of, it's like. Like I said, it's like 2-3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't work out. We keep moving. And,
they kind of went quiet for a little bit, so we sat there.
5-ish?
Yeah. We decided to sit, give them a break of us, like, hammering them, and ate a couple granola bars. And then got back up, and that's when I think my bull, the bull I ended up shooting, we got on him, but he was off the other side of the road.
Mm.
We'd been in so many elk at this point. We're sitting there eating, and I'm like, pretty sure I was a bugle down there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, whatever. I'm gonna finish doing what I'm doing, and then so we keep eating, and then we move a little bit, and the bull bugled again, and she goes, "What's that?" And I'm like, that's the second time I've heard it down there, so I know now I'm not mistaking a bugle. And we got those bulls going. We worked them till dark.
Yeah, we were. It was almost dark by the time we got out of there.
And so we got, the one bull was further away, and it was starting to get towards, like, we've got like 45 minutes.
The one we're 90% sure is my bull.
So we went with the closer bull. And I think his cow was like 9 yards away, and he was maybe 20.
We saw him. He's a good bull, but no good shot.
Didn't care. I mean, I'm right on top of him. Doesn't care. And then we keep moving, and it's super thick. And I kind of looked to my right, and this cow, like, was doing a giraffe thing. She, like, had her front legs way spread out, I think like a V, and she was, like, leaned under her one leg to look.
Really?
And that's what I saw, because I saw it, I'm like,
the heck is that?
Yeah, I'm like, kind of looks like an elk, but what is that? And then she stands up. I'm like, oh, crap. And they kind of move, but they don't go very far, so we go with them. And then he bugles, and I'm like, okay, they're about 50 yards up. We took 5 more steps. No, they were about 10 yards up.
Oh, really?
And at that point, though, it was I looked at Anthony like, this is freaking awesome, because we're standing here. These bulls this bull and his cow are up here, and then the bull we thought that we're 90% sure is the one I shot is down here, and we're in the middle of this bugle fest going on. Like, this bull to our left and down the canyon is bugling. The one above us to our right is bugling, and they're just
the one we ended up bumping and being really close to. He would never respond to me.
Really?
Never.
He responded to the other bull.
I had to get the other bull to bugle, and then he would instantly bugle.
Really?
To me, he would never bugle, but I could get the other one to bugle every time.
On the second bugle?
I don't know if it was because I was close, and I don't know what it was, but
that's weird.
So, sweet night.
Go back to camp.
We go back to camp.
Pretty jacked. We're like, tomorrow's going to be the day. We're going to get it done.
we were under 30 yards for so long all day. It's like,
I think I had an arrow knocked all day, because I'm like, we're close. Because our thing is, Anthony always said, if we're within, like, 80 yards, knock an arrow, because it could happen quick. So I had an arrow knocked.
Yeah, they can go from 80 to 30 really fast.
So I had an arrow knocked all day that day, pretty much.
So it was an amazing day. Well, I called you halfway through it. I'm like, dude, it is freaking on. Like,
and you had one more day left.
Yep. And it's like everything I wanted this tag to beyond it. So going into this hunt, I had expectations, but not really. Like, it's still Oregon.
Yeah.
And I had talked to several people that had hunted these premium units, some of them 4 or 5 times with other people, not their tags. And they're like, don't go over there expecting some amazing, it's going to be better than your average unit, but don't go over there expecting to see a 350, 360 bull every time you open your eyes,
Right.
And it's not going to be easy. So my expectations were realistic, I thought, or maybe on the low end of it. It completely blew it out of the water. This place was
amazing.
What you would want it to be.
Right. And worth the wait.
And so I'm like, this is going to be awesome. And then the next day, we get up and never got winded. We got spotted a few times that day. But never got
winded.
Nope, never got winded. So I'm not worried
about it. And no
bull,
like, just blew out of there, like,
no,
gone.
When they left, they were kind of like, that's weird.
A couple of times they trotted, but never, you could hear them stop. They never just, like, blew out of there and ran miles.
So we get up the next morning. We get up there, start trying to locate a bull. Can't find one. Can't find one. Can't find one. Can't find one. And now we'd been up there for about 2-3 hours.
And nothing. And never have we had to wait. I mean, it was once we got to that road, within half an hour, we had bulls located. Every single day we were in there.
So I'm like, okay.
We should say it was probably 20 degrees cooler that morning than it had been.
And the wind was really bad.
Like a storm was coming in or something.
Really?
It was really swirly.
This is the day the wind just kept changing,
So I'm like, okay. We're just going to keep covering ground, and we'll find them. And I don't know, 2-3 hours into it, I'm like, well, I didn't pick a time this morning, like when we'd be on bulls. So I chose a time, half hour out, kid you not. It was about 25 minutes later we got our first bugle.
Really?
But like a half-ass bugle.
Yeah, it wasn't a very good one. And so we go down in there. He doesn't make another sound. He bugled 3 times before we moved.
Yep. We got
down in on him.
Silence
for like half hour, 40 minutes.
And we hiked a good ways down there.
Yeah, so finally I'm like, well, we'll just hook out of here and go towards the top, and we'll go on the other side. Because obviously this bull's either moved off or he wants nothing to do with us.
Right.
So we get up to the top. He goes off again. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So we go back down there. Silence.
Yep, that was the last bugle we heard from him.
For a while. And then, so we ended up going way further in there than we ever had. And that's when I realized that there was a lot more country there than we thought. And we ended up getting those 2 bulls to go. I'm pretty sure it was the 2 from the night before.
Oh.
Same area, and they both sounded the same, and we were having the same results. If I got the weirder sounding one to go, this one would bugle. But never this one would just go. So we stayed with them for half hour, 45 minutes.
And they didn't responded. They didn't respond every time. It was
it was very few and far between.
I think we heard maybe like 6 to 8 bugles total that morning from the same 2 bulls.
Yep, combined.
Yeah, combined, not total.
And that's coming from 12 hours ago, hearing 100 in 2 hours. You know what I mean? So, so we ended up losing them,
or they went silent. We didn't know.
Or whatever. You know, we couldn't stay with them. And then we got out of there for a little bit, gave it a few hours, went back.
Nothing, not
absolutely
one bugle.
Nothing.
Really?
We never bumped an elk. We never heard an elk. Absolutely nothing. It was like someone flipped a switch the wrong direction.
Game over.
Yep. And that was our season.
Yep.
It was done. So, but I mean, it was good. I mean, we didn't come home with a bull, somewhat by choice, by passing on bulls, and then not by choice of, finally everything comes together. The bull that we are there for, and we have an equipment failure. I mean, that's just hunting. It's horrible, but it happens.
I'm going to post a picture of that broadhead failing.
Broadhead?
Yeah. And that's not just a bashing, but it's just to show people, get a better idea of what exactly happened.
Yeah.
And so any closing thoughts, anything that you would say that you'd suggest, as a female hunter? It's the first time I've actually gone out with a female hunter that had an elk tag. I've gone out with Kim and we deer hunted, but not hiking around, going 10 miles.
And her bull last year doesn't count.
Yeah, and your bull last year doesn't count.
That was the thing this year. I think my expectations were a little higher than Anthony's just because of, the tag is talked up. And
I knew that going in. Just, I could tell from her that, because I told her, like, it's going to be steep. It's going to be nasty. It's not going to be easy. And I did
I mean, Kim and I were doing our 6-mile walk runs. I was doing walking hills, doing the stair climber at the gym. I mean, I didn't do as much, and he told me it was going to be. I just underestimated how steep.
I've hunted that country, and now, granted, for me, because I was working at a slower pace for her, this trip was easier. But I've spent 10, 11 days in that country before, and by the time I come home, I'm dead. I mean, my legs don't want to work. My whole body hurts. Yeah. So, and I knew that's how it was going to be for her. And it's like, it's no joke over there. It's huge.
I mean, my feet were killing me after like 5 days. My legs were great, but my feet were just hurting.
My right hip hurt by the time we came home this last time. Because I hunted. So for the month, for bow season, this has been the best bow season for me as far as time off. I think I worked 6 days during bow season. Or 7 days.
Yeah, I worked 11.
6 or 7 days is all I worked all bow seasons. And I didn't take a single day off. So I was constantly going, and if I wasn't, I was at work. So even working at a slower pace, by the time we left that last time, my hips hurt.
Yeah.
And I was just tired. Like, that climb to the top was getting way harder.
Yeah.
Like, it started feeling like, am I loaded down with meat? Nope.
I think a lot of it for me was mind over matter. Because, like, my legs would just be killing me. I think I told you at one point, like, every step freaking hurts.
Yeah.
But then you hear a bull bugle, and I'm like, okay, no, let's go. I don't have any pain. Or at least I just put it, to the back of my head and didn't think about it.
Yeah.
But
well,
I definitely learned a lot.
Seeing somebody push through all of that, because I just have to imagine my knees hurt on hunts, and it just takes the fun out of it.
Oh yeah.
And then just watching you push through that pain was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, and then filming you when you shot the bull, and then kind of realization setting in. It was just, it was like it was a different part of the hunt I've never seen, because I was like, just a third person being there. And I was helping, but watching like a husband and a wife chase elk around, and then it was really cool. It was really cool, and it gives you a really cool appreciation for the female hunters they can get after it just as hard as a guy can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you just have to, like you said, like, because I wanted to stop on day 6. Part of me was like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. And the easy thing would have been to just give up and say, yeah, I'm going to pull out early. Let's go home.
Or shoot a smaller bull.
But I didn't. I mean, I set my mind to something.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to shoot a bigger bull. Like, that's what I came over here for. So let's go till we find it. And then if my thing was, because we had 12 days we could have spent over there. We came home 2 days early. I said the last 2 days.
We came home on day 11.
Oh, yeah.
11 days in that country is
because I hunted Roosevelt's the next day.
Oh, yeah.
We had
2 more days. We had 2 more days over there, though. So we could have, but, we came home early. So I said those last 2 days, I would lower my standards to, it doesn't have to be. Because my standard wasn't a 350 bull. It was anything over 300. 300, 310. I wanted to be in that range. But I lowered it to, any bull that's bigger than the bull I shot last year.
260.
Yeah. And so, but we ended up coming home early. But, I had my mind set on a type of bull I wanted. And I didn't want to give up because I wanted, last year doesn't really count. Like, I killed a bull.
Public land bull.
It just happened. I just got crazy lucky because as soon as I shot my bull last year, he said the first words out of his mouth were, "It never happens like this." And I'm like, I don't know because I hadn't been brave enough to hunt elk. I had hunted deer with my bow before, but last year was the first year I said, "Okay, let's give elk a shot."
Yeah.
And then this year, I'm like, that's all I want to do is hunt elk. And so, but yeah, so this year we didn't get a bull, which obviously that was the main goal.
Over there, yeah.
We learned, I learned a crap ton about the animals.
She got 20 years experience in 15 days.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
It was, like just everything about the animals. Anthony is, just everyone, like it was, you guys are such like awesome hunter. I'm like, how do you know all this? Like, how do you know when to call her? How do you know when you should do this and Garrett does this and then it happens? And Anthony's great. Like, I don't even have to say anything. Like when I'm at full draw, he tells me the yardage because I'm too worried about, like, I'm a perfectionist as far as like making a good ethical shot and not wounding anything. And so that's what I'm thinking about. And I told Anthony, like, maybe I'm not a real hunter, but I don't want to have to worry about ranging him and then getting everything set. So someone has to be with me and just tell me the range so I can focus on making a good shot. And so, he wouldn't just at the right time. Okay, it's 35 yards. The bull's going to do this. It's this many yardage. This is a yardage. And I would just I would do the rest. I'd have to get ready and pull my, do my part. But definitely a learning experience. Because first I was bummed, like, we're coming home empty-handed. I think I text my mom that, and she's like, "Well, you're not empty-handed. Think of all you learned and
all the memories.
Yeah. T Swift. I'll never think of her the same because of Garrett.
It was a good hunt. Everything went well.
Yeah.
We would have been successful if the broadhead wouldn't have failed. Right. We would have the bull I went over there for at Wayne's right now. Being turned into a shoulder mount.
Right.
That's what would have happened. But like we did everything we could. That was the thing. I wanted to at least give it my all.
And he's still alive.
And that was great for me. Like, yeah, it sucks coming home without a bull, but you're not guaranteed. Like, it's elk hunting, not elk killing, right? So
and like I said,
closure for me, knowing that bull's alive.
So much experience, Well, we went over there and say we saw 40 bulls, which is probably about right. I bet 25 of them were over 280.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If not more than that. Like that second trip over there, I don't think we saw a bull that I would say is under 280.
That's just crazy.
Yeah,
we go over there and we're like, all right.
But I believe it. I was there. I believe it.
Decent branch bull, we'll kill it. Well, heck, we didn't see anything except what we went over there for pretty much.
I'm like, maybe I should have said my standards were any branch bull the first time.
Yeah.
But no, we saw. And that's the thing. I don't know if Anthony asked me if I just said, because at one point I think he asked, will you regret it if you pass up on this bull? And I don't regret passing up on the smaller bulls at all because I had my mindset on the type of bull and we got it. We got the chance. We got the opportunity. If you
would have shot bull number 1 on day 1,
I wouldn't have had.
I think you would have regretted that.
I would have
had
regretted
a bull. We'd have a 6-point bull at home
and meat in the freezer.
Yeah, but we spent over 2 weeks in there after that and got to experience that place for what it is kind of worked up to be.
That hunt's worth, if you're going to put a number on it, that hunt's probably worth $40,000 or $50,000 if you're going to pay for it. What you're running into,
Yeah.
all the
second
experience.
The second trip. That was amazing.
It's worth everything.
I mean, we saw a lot of elk on the first trip, but they just weren't being elk or what you want elk hunting to be. You know, yes.
Yeah.
It was getting frustrating calling in bulls, which sounds weird, but when they're coming in absolutely silent every single time. I mean, you're literally going into canyons that I don't know anything about them. I don't know if an elk's been in there in 20 years because, I scouted it, but I scouted it for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And mostly just the road systems, trying to learn those. And yes, I was looking for elk in these canyons, but I wasn't beating timber and stuff, trying to figure stuff out. So you drop into a canyon and dedicate 3 hours to it, you have no idea if an elk's ever been there.
Right.
So, and then you start calling, well, you're not getting any responses. It's hard to just keep dropping into canyons, even when you're calling in bulls.
Especially when you're tired.
You have no idea if it's worth it. Because, I hunt over here on the Coast Range in spots I've hunted for 15 years. I know what's in the bottom of those draws. I might not know what elk is in there, but I know in this draw there's always sign down on this side. I know because I've hunted it, so I know these areas. That spot's like, I've never been here. I'm literally, every time we moved, it was blind. It was 100% blind. So that was hard to keep motivated.
Right. Onyx was a game changer for that hunt.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Going somewhere knowing like, hey, we're going to come out on a road up here.
It's why I bought Onyx this year.
Yeah.
It's because
it's worth it.
I've never been there, so
it's paid for itself over and over and over
Oh
again.
my gosh, that hunt, yeah.
Just on my scouting trip, Onyx paid for itself.
Yep. Just knowing, hey, if I take that road, I've never been here, but that'll lead to a unit.
Yeah.
Or a good canyon.
Or like when the day 2 when we got on the backside of the mountain and Anthony's like, we're closer to camp than we are to the truck, so let's just drop down to the main road.
And I'm like, we'll just drop to the main road
and then we can walk the road
way
make
around.
it a little easier.
Because it's far either way, and we can either walk the road or beat this brush again. We're going to the road.
One thing I was happy to see you guys not do was, you have this amazing tag, and then you put too much pressure on yourself where you don't have fun. Like, what are people going to think if I don't kill this caliber bull? And you just hear it all the time. Like, I just didn't have fun because I was so worried about killing a big bull. I just didn't soak it all in, and that's not what we did.
No.
Or you guys did.
The reason I passed up, for one, I did want to kill a big bull, but for two, like, I'm like, it's 2 hours on day 1, and day 5, I'm like, we have 2 more weeks left in this area. I want to hunt more. I want to get more experience, especially since last year I had like a day.
And I used to put pressure on myself for a social media aspect of I need to kill something,
Yeah.
I stopped doing that, and I enjoy it more again because it's like I don't care. Like I don't need to show that I can kill something, or if I want to shoot, say, a fork and horn buck, I don't need to worry about, well, what if I post it, what are going to people say?
Right.
If I decide to put my tag on that, that's what I decided to do. So so no cares of like, well, I'm in this premium unit, we have to kill something, otherwise people are going to be like, oh, they don't kill anything. No. Who cares? So
it's elk hunting. Nothing is ever guaranteed.
I know a guy that's hunted 2 premium units in 2 years, and he's an elk killer. And he's come home empty-handed both times.
Really?
And that dude kills elk. Just because you're in a good area doesn't mean nothing.
No.
Right. Well, I think that's an episode. Is there anything that you guys want to add to that?
I don't think so. Nope. Just always keep going. I mean, there was plenty of times that
persistence paid off.
Yep.
And
I have to keep covering ground.
Yeah.
And keep going, and you'll find them eventually.
I shared Derek Carlton and I did an episode recently, and in that episode, and we said it on the hunt, is that when we weren't running into bugles, there's a bull somewhere in this unit, and there's a hot cow somewhere in this unit bugling his head off. It's up to us to find him. We got to keep covering ground.
And I think you said that multiple times on our hunt. Like when we weren't hearing something, you're like, they're in here. We just got to keep covering ground and we'll find them. And
just gotta keep going.
every single time we did.
Yep.
I came back and hunted Roosevelt's that one evening.
Yeah.
And a guy I know that's been hunting pretty much all season, he's like, dude, I haven't heard one bugle. I hunted for 45 minutes and got into a scream fest with a bull in the same areas he was hunting.
Yeah.
And it's not that he's a lesser hunter, but he didn't find that bull.
And
I just happened to cross that bull's path.
Yep.
I mean, that bull started going on his own. I was standing there like, well, this is no good. And all of a sudden he starts screaming. I'm like, well, okay. I guess here we go.
Right. Well, just the pure tenacity, and that's what that is just to enable the ability to like keep a positive mindset through failure and keep going. It's like the definition of tenacity right there.
Yeah, because we could have easily after what happened. I mean, it crossed my mind.
Yeah, I felt like I was like, well, God dang it, we just, what are we gonna do now?
Yep, I felt like, I mean, granted we went home, but to get better broadheads, but I'm like, Anthony said to me like, if you don't have to go, we don't have to go back if you don't want to, and it crossed my mind to not go back, but I'm like, then I'm giving up, and I'm not a quitter,
I just didn't want
so
to push.
Yeah.
Well, being aware,
it has to be fun.
Yeah, and that's I think that's why we all hunted so well together. Because Anthony,
we had a blast.
Him and I hunt pretty much identical. We're really aggressive on the calling and the pushing. I don't have to tell him what to do. He doesn't have to tell me what to do. We know.
Yeah. You guys, as I said that earlier, you guys hunt really well together.
We just, it's
and
like
I'm just in the middle, and I'm
just
listening to both of you.
15 years.
On the other half of that, when Ryan was there, it's the same way. Like me and him have hunted together for a long time, and he called me because he took a new guy hunting this year. And which he said was great. He did great and everything. He goes, but it was just different. He goes, because when I hunt with you, I don't have to say anything. We just do. And like we know what the other person's thinking. We just go. He goes, with this guy, I had to tell him everything. Or like
it's clunky.
I had to tell him what I was thinking. He goes, it was weird.
Yeah.
And you guys definitely, I could tell. It's like
when you find that, it just clicks. And then I just really appreciate you guys letting me be a part of it.
I'm glad you gave up some of your. I mean, that says a lot about you and Ryan to give up some of your own elk season to come help me. I mean, you guys have tags.
What about me? I gave up the whole season.
I know who you did. I'm saying, like, for me and Anthony, because, like, obviously, if I draw this tag, I'm not gonna go by myself.
When she drew this tag, I was like, well, I'm not killing an elk this year because I'm gonna try to do it with a recurve, and I'm gonna have 6 hours to do it. Yeah. Good luck. Which it actually almost happened, but
same here.
But I do have.
That's crazy.
I have a late season, so
that's crazy.
That's gonna be.
Which we are gonna try like hell to get.
I'm gonna give that 100%. It's gonna be rough. It'll
be fun though. It's more glassing and.
Oh, it's gonna be spot stocking a unit. That's the only way you're gonna do it.
So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for coming on to the podcast and sharing that. I know it's not easy talking about losing a bull.
Nope.
I mean, but. It does get easier knowing that he's alive.
Yeah, and it happens. I mean,
it happens.
Every single bow hunter, I can guarantee you, has had something similar.
Right.
And I told her that, which before this happened, we were talking. She's like, I just don't ever want to lose an animal when I'm bow hunting. I said, if you bow hunt long enough, eventually, even if you try to never take anything unethical, eventually it will happen.
I think I was the year prior, 2 years ago, before last elk season, I think I opened my fat mouth. So I've never lost an animal with my bow, and I'd been hunting for years with my bow. Shot a bunch of stuff. That next year, I got humble pie.
Yep,
lost that big 6
I went through a good streak of never losing anything, never even coming close to losing anything, and then I went through a little patch there where it was misses, and then I wounded a couple animals. Like I'll say it, and like this year when I shot that buck, I couldn't find blood right away. And I'm standing there, and I said it out loud. I said, this can't happen. Like, I cannot take this. Like, because the last animal I shot, we didn't find.
Really?
And so I'm standing there, and I'm talking to myself. I'm like, if I lose this animal, I'm done. Like, I just can't do it again. And I ended up finding him. He didn't go. But
made a perfect shot on him.
Oh, yeah. Completely hammered that thing. And he only went like 100 yards. But
well, when people are listening to this episode, one thing that would pop into my head is that people always think they say, I made a perfect shot and never found him. Well, this isn't that. I mean, we had a legitimate failure.
Yeah.
And we have two people that both saw the same thing.
Yeah. And I would 110% say I made a shitty shot. I shouldn't have done that. Yeah. I shouldn't have shot him. I hit the shoulder, but I mean.
Well, I know you well enough that you're a killer, and you are a pretty damn good shot with your bow, and we're not trying to make excuses here or church anything up. It's what happened. I will post a picture about it.
It happens.
And like I said, it does happen. Yeah. But Well, we have a birthday party we need to
We do.
attend.
We're about 2 hours late to it.
We are about. It was fun though. It was fun. We're gonna have to have you back on the show sometime. Team Dirty Trad's always finding himself onto the show.
Yeah. Dirty Trad, not
So
Team.
it's yeah.
Dirty Trad.
I felt like I cheated on that bow.
You did.
Yep. I was super happy, excited, and grateful to shoot that buck. But when I was breaking them down, I'm like,
I cheated.
felt like I cheated on my bow. But anyways.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening to this episode, and we will see you on the next one. Bye. All right, guys, that's this week's episode of the podcast. Thanks for joining me. Thanks, Anthony and Shelbi, for coming and willing to be completely transparent and tell the whole story. And there's no excuses, really. They did their best while I was with them. It was amazing just watching these two just keep after it, and her will to keep going through the ups and downs, and it was just really cool. I've never seen somebody work so hard on a hunt before, and I just wish it would have came all together for her, and that equipment malfunction didn't happen. So, what's your thoughts on that? Be love to hear it. Comment on Instagram, and I'll definitely show the picture once I upload it. I'll upload the picture of the broadhead, what's left of it on the arrow, and you guys can decide maybe what happened. My theory is it punched that first rib going in, broke off, and then barely got any more penetration beyond that. And like they said, the bull was still running around bugling and actually had a few cows, so he was healthy enough to fight for some of his cows back. So really interesting story there. But as always, guys, if you can, leave me a 5-star review with a comment. Get yourself entered in some of these giveaways that I'm doing. I plan on having some really cool, more customized giveaways, maybe some arrows, something like that. I really want to start giving you guys some of the gear that I'm using so you can try them out for yourself and see if you like it. So as always, thanks for listening, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.